Hey, what's up, everybody? Sorry for the delay. I thought Joe's show was only going to go 2 hours. So he told me like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. It was supposed to start at 8, so I scheduled for 10:30. And I kept trying to leave, and I wasn't allowed to leave. I didn't want to get out of there, just leave on and bail out. So I apologize to everybody who waited, but I promise you didn't wait in vain. How's everybody doing tonight? I did not put any goal up. Let's see who's here, what's going on. Kevin says, Jim, is that picture Frog Tony showing of Cynic really Cynic? The one that I saw was like a midget dude. I don't think that was really him, not the one that I saw. Pat says Joe's show was too rank for me. Lisa says Joe is too drunk to enjoy the show. Sorry about that, guys. Good to see you though. Here, Emerald Eyes is here. You might be doing him a favor. Maybe. Satellite imagery confirms damage to the U.S. Space Force's $1.1 billion ballistic missile early warning radar in Qatar. Really? Wow, not good? No, that's not good. At least he didn't paint his face blue this year. Woodham, great to see you. Yeah, I watched the first couple minutes. I was out of there. Ricada joined the mix now. I'll catch it replay if it ever happens. Well, it's happening now. I'll have to watch Father Brown. It's ending now. Could you at least show Bella to start the stream? We could put Bella on there for everyone to see. There's Bella, just chilling out. You know, she's been waiting all night. What's up, Dan? How you doing? Good to see you, Mr. Gagax. Hello, Jim and chat. Vince, great to see you. Awesome. Good evening, everybody. None of your business. Awesome. Catherine K, awesome to see you here. Jewish space lasers, pew, pew, pew. Lightning, what's up? Okay, here we go. Yes. Hi, Mama Pillow. None of your business. Good to see you. Steve, great to see you. What's up, Doc? Joe. Yep. Salty says, I've been following a lot of great people tonight. Well, that's awesome, Salty. Good to know. Yeah, so we're going to do a show tonight. I don't know. I mean, should I put a goal up even, or should I just do the show? And I don't know. I mean, you know what? I'll do a goal. We'll see what happens. I'll start it right now, and I'll do a 2-hour goal. Is what I'll do. I'll do a 2-hour goal. And if we hit it, we'll just we'll do it like normal. We'll just add an extra hour if we hit the goal. So that's what we'll do. Get the thing pulled up. I got to get the correct text in there. Okay. We'll start it. We'll go 2 hours from now. Wow. Oof. All right. So we'll see what happens. I want to thank everybody who's here. What's up, Greg? Great to see you. And there's Bella. So you know how it works. Show's going to be about 2 hours. If we hit 50, I'll activate Bellavision unless somebody gets 25. Or if we hit 100 across all platforms, I'll add it all up and I'll add another hour to the show. So let's take Bella out and say thanks everybody for waiting. I apologize. I'm sure a bunch of people will watch this on replay because didn't want to stick around, and I understand that. It's rough to try to plan a show when you're going to be on another show and it's going to lead in or follow in like that. Just hoping he doesn't forget. Anyway, so let's just jump into the news. So the way it works, there's Cash App, PayPal, Robo Rants, Super Chats, everything. Add it all up, blah, blah, blah. You guys get it. You guys know the deal. Cash App, PayPal, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to get all into it like that. So let's jump into the first news story of the evening, let's say. All right. So there's an old clip of Trump talking about Iran in 1980 goes viral. All right. An old clip of the president has been going viral amid the conflict in Iran. Between 1979 and 1980, 52 American diplomats and citizens were held hostage by revolutionaries in Iran for over a year. When you get the respect of other countries do a little bit for you, you got to create the right attitude, Trump said in this video clip. So, wow, look at the young Trump.
Obviously, you're advocating that we should have gone in there with troops, etc., and brought our boys out.
I absolutely feel that, yes.
Donald Trump has been so ideologically consistent that it is actually almost hard to wrap your brain around. So watch this video. This is from October of 1980, 40 plus years ago. Listen to Donald Trump being asked about military intervention as it pertains to Iran.
When you get the respect of the other countries, then the other countries tend to do a little bit as you do, and you can create the right attitudes. The Iranian situation is a case in point. That they hold our hostages is just absolutely and totally ridiculous. That this country sits back and allows a country such as Iran to hold our hostages, to my way of thinking, is a horror. And I don't think they'd do it with other countries. I honestly don't think they'd do it with other countries.
Obviously, you're advocating that we should have gone in there with troops, etc., and brought our boys out.
I absolutely feel that, yes. I don't think there's any question, and there's no question in my mind.
Don't you love seeing those videos? I mean, just you.
So, I'm not going to play all this from Dave Rubin because I don't want to steal his content and stuff, but basically that was it. So he absolutely feels, yes, he should have. And here's a little Iran history that we could play.
For decades, Iran has targeted the United States and Israel, from the 1979 hostage crisis to the deadly attacks on our troops between 2003 and 2011. The National News Desk's Angela Brown joins us right now to lay out some of the key moments that led to Operation Epic Fury. This is really years in the making.
Right, and that's what President Donald Trump hit on this weekend when he talked about close to 50 years of terror at the hands of Iran, citing some of these events that stood out. Of course, we all think of the 1979 Iran hostage crisis as the breaking point, and that was a breaking point, but it was not the starting point. That was in 1953 when America helped to overthrow the democratically elected prime minister, setting the stage for the 1979 Iranian Revolution, where militants removed the American-backed Shah, setting off more than 40 years.
I want to point out that that they're talking about the democratically elected prime minister. Actually, I'm pretty sure he was a guy who there was a coup that he came in. So, the election was like he won like 99.5% of the vote. So it was like, was it a real election?
Years of hostility. Of course, we all think of 1979, the Iranian hostage crisis. Iranian militants seized the U.S. embassy, holding 52 Americans hostage for 444 days. And then in the 1980s, that terror continued. You had Hezbollah, backed by Iran. They bombed our embassy in Beirut. You remember that. Then they bombed the U.S. Marine barracks in Beirut, killing 241 service members. And of course, then there was that secret deal, Iran-Contra. The Reagan administration illegally sold weapons to Iran. Some of the profits, of course, then would to fund the Contras in Nicaragua. The next 20 years would be deadly for Americans. Iran bears responsibility for the deaths of 603 U.S. service members in Iraq between 2003 and 2011. That is according to a 2019 Pentagon report cited by the Military Times, basically accounting for 17% of U.S. deaths in the country during that period. Now, President Donald Trump cited years of terror to help justify these strikes. Here's what the president said over the weekend.
For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries.
Well, late December 2025, just last year, everything took really a dramatic turn. We watched right here as mass protests erupted across Iran, the largest since the 1979 revolution we were just talking about. Thousands of protesters were killed or injured as the regime cracked down. At the same time, you had Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with President Trump at Mar-a-Lago to talk about what would come next when it comes to Iran. The rest, of course, you know right now, negotiations between the U.S. and Iran failed, leading to the strikes over the weekend. Now, of course, the big question is, what will this next regime do? How will they rule once they take over? Will the Iranian people have any say in it? And how much are we going to get involved with all this?
All right, Angela, thank you very much.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. So Secretary of War said in previous statements Iran was building powerful missiles and drones to create a conventional shield for their nuclear blackmail ambitions. The president has not ruled out boots on the ground in Iran, according to an interview with the New York Post. He just says he's not going to say, he's not going to say what they're up to. Not going to say what they're up to. This is the same. Resurfaced clip of Trump telling the host plans in 80. This goes viral. Look at a young Trump. That looks a lot like Barron, doesn't it? Not like Barron. We'll jump into the next story here, which is kind of interrelated. So Trump orders the Navy to escort through the Strait of Hormuz, orders Navy escorts through the Strait of Hormuz, unlocks federal war risk insurance for tankers. So Joe says, I and sub to 3 channels today saying Trump betrayed us because of the Iran operation. Trump didn't betray anybody. I mean, the people are like, hello. He said he was going to bomb the shit out of them when he was running for president in 2024. I was 17 when it started. Hate is a word I rarely use, but I have a deep hatred for the regime for all these years. Yeah, I remember all the seeing all the, the dead bodies from the barracks. I was a young kid seeing, the Marines, and then later on at the barracks in Saudi Arabia that got blown up, and then the coal. Plus numerous numerous things that they just kept doing. He said 88 stationed in Europe near Dresden during the Iran-Iraq war, estimates to be 1 million military and civilian killed. So President Trump on Tuesday said that the United States Navy will escort oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz if necessary, and directed the U.S. International Development Finance Corp to provide war risk insurance for maritime shipping in the Persian Gulf, a sweeping response to the disruption of global energy markets triggered by the U.S. Israeli military campaign against Iran. Trump announced the measures in a statement posted on social media saying the DFC would offer political risk insurance and financial guarantees for all maritime trade, especially energy traveling through the Gulf, at very reasonable price. He also said the U.S. Navy would begin escorting tankers as soon as possible, if necessary. No matter what, the United States will ensure the free flow of energy to the world. Well, to the world except for China. The announcement came hours after Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Energy Secretary Chris Wright had been expected to present Trump with a menu of options to address the surge in oil prices and the collapse of private marine insurance coverage in the region. Secretary of State Marco Rubio had previewed the administration's response on Monday, promising that starting tomorrow, you will see us rolling out those phases to try to mitigate against that. The dual-track approach, federal insurance backstop plus naval escorts, draws directly on precedent set during the 1980s tanker war, when the Reagan administration reflagged Kuwaiti tankers and provided naval protection after private insurers withdrew from the Gulf. The U.S. also provided war risk insurance to maritime carriers after the September 11, 2001 attack to keep global shipping moving. Terry said, I watched a little bit of Joe's show. I couldn't watch him being drunk. But the scale of the current disruption may exceed either precedent. I don't see how the scale of this disruption could be worse than the 80s, when in the 80s, a lot more of the global oil was coming out of the Gulf. That's just a fact. Oil shipments have been largely blocked through the strait, the narrow choke point between Iran and Oman, through which a fifth of the global oil supply passes, since Israel and U.S. forces began striking Iran over the weekend. Multiple tankers have been damaged by strikes and others have been stranded. War risk insurance premiums have surged, with some providers scaling back or withdrawing coverage entirely. By deploying DFC as the insurer of last resort, the administration is attempting to restore market confidence without directly tapping the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, a move officials have been reluctant to make, but signaled they were preparing to use if prices continue to climb. DFC, originally created to finance development projects to compete with the Chinese state, leading into emerging markets, has statutory authority and the balance sheet to back maritime risk at scale required. What's this? Terry for $5. Thank you very much, Terry. Wow, that sounded very loud. Was that very loud to you guys, or? Thank you very much, Terry. With that, that means we are now $95 away from adding a first additional hour to the show and $45 away from Bellavision. Thank you very much. Thank you, Terry. The announcement is likely to put a ceiling on the fear premium that has been embedded in crude prices since the strikes on Iran began. The key distinction is between a structural supply shock, which would justify sustained price elevation, and a temporary disruption driven by insurance and logistic paralysis. If tankers can obtain federal coverage and naval escorts, the Hormuz blockage becomes the latter, not the former. The distinction matters enormously for the Federal Reserve policy. A supply-driven oil spike that proves transitory poses a very different challenge for the Fed than one that feeds in persistent inflation expectations, with the administration explicitly framing this as a short-term disruption. Trump told reporters Tuesday that Americans may have to live with higher oil prices for a short period, but predicted prices would fall lower than even before once the conflict ends. The White House is signaling its views that this is a one-time price level event, not a permanent shock. Yeah, I mean, in 2022 under Biden, all right, in 2022 under Biden, oil prices were over $100 a barrel. Just remember that, all right? So, and there was none of this going on. So, I mean, really, it's like, is it really, that big of a deal for, if we have like a couple weeks or a couple, like 2-3 weeks with high oil prices, as long as they come back down quickly? I don't think it's that big of a deal. They just can't, they can't be sustained. Hey, Joe, Good Logic has rated the stream. Thank you so much. We here. Awesome. Thank you very much. So as long as the prices don't stay high for months, it's not going to be a problem. Whether markets and the Fed accept the framing will depend heavily on how quickly tanker traffic through the Strait resumes and whether the administration's insurance and escort programs prove sufficient to restore normal shipping volumes. Politically, speed matters as much as substance. Gasoline prices are among the most politically sensitive economic indicators, felt directly by voters at every fill-up. With Republican House majorities thin enough to be threatened by sustained consumer pain, the midterm elections in November, the administration had powerful incentive to move aggressively and visibly. So that's what they're saying. I mean, I'm hoping it's not going to be a problem, that it's going to be a short-lived problem. I'm hoping they're correct that this is only going to last 4 to 5 weeks. But we'll have to wait and see, I guess. Basically, the same story here. This just says U.S. considering naval escorts for oil tankers amid Iran meltdown. Actually, I think they've approved them now, and it's going to happen. So they're going to provide our naval escorts through the Gulf. Considering that Iran no longer has a navy, the only thing they're going to have to worry about is like drones, which our ships can take out, or missiles, which our ships can also take out, no problem. So, okay, let's just hear what these people have to say.
Let's get some breaking news right now about the Strait of Hormuz. Pippa Stevens has more. Pippa.
Hey, Brian. So President Trump saying on Truth Social just now that effective immediately, he's ordered the United States Development Finance Corporation to provide at a reasonable price political risk insurance and guarantees for the security of all maritime trade passing through the Gulf, especially for energy. He said that it's available for all shipping lanes and that if necessary, the U.S. Navy will begin escorting tankers through the strait. He said ultimately, no matter what, the United States will ensure the, quote, free flow of energy to the world. Of course, Brian, a lot of people watching this right now, and the president was scheduled to meet with Secretaries Wright and Besant today. We don't know we don't have a readout from that or if it happened, but this coming just now that they will be providing insurance guarantees. Guys?
Yeah. Pippa, we're showing WTI crude, which is almost about to go lower on this. Think about how insane this is. Brian's like, don't get out of yourself.
Oh,
look, it's up 1 or 2%.
It's going to go lower. Yeah.
Joining me now, Jared Isaacman, Administrator of NASA here at the American Dynamism Summit. It's so good to speak with you, Mr. Administrator. Welcome, welcome.
So on to the next story. If the whore moves, she's a cow. Yeah, great. So the CIA station in Saudi Arabia was struck by a suspected Iranian drone, sources say. The attack came during the ongoing strikes in the Middle East following the February 28th U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran. The CIA station at the U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia was hit on March 2nd by a suspected Iranian drone. A source familiar with the matter told Reuters. There was no indication the station was the target, the source said. The CIA declined to comment. So it was just an accident? Oh, what's it say? Joe says, blessings and safety for our troops. God bless all. Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much, Joe. And with that, that means we are now $93 away from adding an extra hour to the show and $43 away from Bellavision. Salty says, I've been following Joe for years. I don't care if he tied one on. It's very rare. I'm a quack. Hear me duck. That's right. Insane listening to trolls. Yeah, it's crazy. Or something like that. Yeah. Thank you, Joe. The embassy, which is located in the Saudi capital of Riyadh, is among the U.S. sites that have been hit so far in the conflict. Saudi Arabia's defense ministry said the embassy was hit by 2 drones, which resulted in a limited fire and some material damage. Washington's mission in the kingdom subsequently warned Americans to avoid the embassy until further notice due to the attack. On Tuesday, it canceled routine and emergency U.S. services appointments. There is a threat of imminent missile and unmanned aerial vehicle assaults over Dahran. Do not come to the U.S. consulate, the mission said in a security alert. So there's that happening. All right. And then same thing, the Washington Post just basically has the same story here. CIA station in Saudi capital hit by drone attack. Suspected Iranian drone hits a station in the embassy on Monday that would amount to a symbolic victory for the Islamic Republic as it lashes out at U.S. targets and personnel across the Middle East. The U.S. and Saudi governments confirmed that the 2 drones hit the U.S. embassy complex in Riyadh, but did not disclose that America's spy hub was hit in the attack. The CIA declined to comment. An internal State Department alert obtained by the Washington Post said the attack collapsed part of the embassy roof and contained the inside with smoke. Contaminated the inside with smoke. Wow. The notice said the embassy sustained structural damage and personnel continued to shelter in place. The extent of the damage was not immediately clear. There was no indication that any CIA personnel was wounded. While the attack amounts to a minor setback for the spy agency's presence in Saudi Arabia, it may find significance to the embattled regime that has long viewed the CIA as its ultimate foe, given Washington's covert support for the 1953 military coup that ousted Iran's elected prime minister. But I believe there was a coup before that, though, also, that overthrew the monarchy. So they're like trying to not put this out. Like in 47, 48, there was a coup that did stuff too. So whatever. Former CIA officers who had worked in the region said the loss of the station is a disruption, but there are workarounds. Drawdowns are part of the business, said one former officer who served in the Middle East. And like the others who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss the clandestine agency, the local liaison relationship is so tight, I think the Saudis will roll out the red carpet to accommodate the agency personnel. There's a lot of redundancy built into these things. So they're saying it's not really I'm saying it's not really that big of a deal. Same thing. Reuters, same story. CIA station hit. CIA declined to comment. Then we got this. At least 2 Iranian drones strike U.S. Embassy in Riyadh. So it's the same story. At least 2 drones struck the embassy in Riyadh. A 3rd drone is en route to the U.S. Embassy as we speak, according to a official source. Jennifer Griffin said it was empty at the time of the attack. They also confirmed at least, CNN also confirmed at least 2 Iranian drones struck the embassy. There was initial reports of injuries according to sources.
Welcome back to this special edition of Out Front, the war with Iran. And we begin here with breaking news just this moment. We are learning of an important development. The United States Embassy in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, has just been hit. It has been struck by 2 suspected Iranian drones. We don't know a lot right now. We don't have initial reports of injuries, but we're learning here as we go, and we want to share it with you. But we do have a reporter in Riyadh right now, Nick Robertson. In fact, he is near the embassy in Riyadh. So, Nick, as we're just hearing this happen, is there anything you guys could hear or see? What are you learning?
Yeah, we heard about this first reported on social media here about an hour or so ago. We went out to the U.S. Embassy. We've just been there. It's in a massive diplomatic compound area in Riyadh. There are normally police checkpoints to get in there. We got through the first checkpoint. We couldn't get through the second checkpoint. I have not seen police activity around those checkpoints in the diplomatic compound like this since I was there when there was a terrorist bombing in that area about 20-odd years ago. So very clear something has happened. The police on high alert there. We don't have more details other than it appears these two suspected Iranian drones have hit the U.S. Embassy here in Riyadh. Of course, this comes on the heels tonight of the State Department warning citizens in 14 different countries, including Saudi Arabia, to leave the region. What we do know about this incident tonight is there was social media video posted that appeared, and we're still running this information down, appeared to show a fire outside of the U.S. Embassy here. Striking in Riyadh, there have been attempts by Iran over the past couple of days to try to hit this city. Not quite clear what the targets were then. Those attempts have failed because they've been intercepted. But the two drones are reported to have been involved, suspected Iranian drones. Fits a pattern we're seeing in Saudi Arabia. Today, the biggest oil facility here in Saudi Arabia, Ras Tanura, was hit by shrapnel falling from the intercept of two drones. This seems to be a tactic. It's an effort to make sure that the Iranians are able to defeat the defense systems, and that appears to be what has happened tonight. It is a big deal in this city. It will be of concern for Saudi authorities that drones were able to get through, penetrate a key ally and get to a key ally's embassy. So this is a worry here in this city tonight.
Okay. So let's see. Sylvia says, education is everything, but when you get brainwashed from an early age in schools and misinformed by mainstream media later on, I am not younger generation. Don't get it. Terry says, for 20, he says, go America. Thank you, Terry. Oops, typing off a bit. And I think, let me look. Hold on a second. Let me think something. So I think, yeah, you know what? I'm going to count that. I'm going to go ahead and count that and say that because Terry gave 5 earlier and then 20, that's going to count as a $25 donation. So there's, where's Bella? She moved. Bella. Oh, come on. Come over here and lay down, Bella. What are you doing? I got to adjust the camera. What just happened? Do this. Oh no, wrong way. I'm moving the camera the wrong way. There she is. There she is. There she is. All right. Where's the Hassan collar when you need it, right? Yeah, well, what are you going to do? So let me fix the banner. So that means we are now... we're now 73 away from adding an extra first hour to the show. We'll do that. Okay. Sweet Bella. Thank you, Rudd. So Sweet Bella. Yeah. Well, this sucks. Prayers for Groovy Bruce. What's this? Doc? What happened with Groovy Bruce? What? Bruce Campbell? Cancer is evil, yeah. Wow. Wow. Yeah. Oh, I forgot to. Thank you for the 20. Miss Crockett, a save act, no vote, claiming cheating is why she's losing. Yeah. I thought we'll jump into some of that stuff in a little bit, but we'll cover some of this other stuff real quick. All right, let's jump into this story real quick because I thought this was an important story. This is not about the war. I tried to sprinkle in some other stuff that's not about the war into the stories tonight, just because there's other stuff going on besides the war. So the Supreme Court blocks California's school gender secrecy policy in a victory for parental rights. Yes, the decision came out basically saying, like, what are you talking about? You can't do this. It's not, parents have a right to raise their children. But that's what the whole commie Marxists want, is they're pushing to have the state. They want your children to be the property of the state. Remember in Texas, if you don't get 51%, it's 50% plus one. So if it's 50, you have 50% plus one vote is the winning, not 51%. So, but I understand what you're saying. So the Supreme Court on Tuesday, look how they show this, this picture of this family. Like, oh, look, it's a family and they're wearing rainbow flags. And The Supreme Court on Tuesday blocked California schools from hiding students' gender transitions from parents as litigation continues over the state's gender secrecy policy in lower courts. The conservative-leaning High Court ruled 6-3 in favor of concerned parents and reinstated a December district court ruling permanently halting the state's school transgender policy, a ruling that was steamrolled by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit the following month. Yeah. The majority wrote in their opinion that religious parents, as well as parents who object purely because they believe they have a right to direct the upbringing of their children, are likely to succeed on the merits of their case and face irreparable harm if the policy is not halted during the lengthy litigation process. The court also cited its June 2025 decision in Mahmoud v. Taylor, in which the justices sided with the religious parents who sued their Maryland school board over its refusal to allow K-5 children opt out of LGBTQ plus curriculum. We conclude that parents who seek religious exemptions are likely to succeed on the merits of their free exercise clause claim. California's policies likely trigger strict scrutiny under that provision because they substantially interfere with the right of the parents to guide religious development of their children. The majority wrote, the parents who assert a free exercise claim have sincere religious beliefs about sex and gender, and they feel a religious obligation to raise their children in accordance with those beliefs. California's policy violates those beliefs and imposes the kind of burden on religious exercise that Yoder found unacceptable. Indeed, the intrusion on parents' free exercise rights here, unconsented facilitation of a child's gender transition, is greater than the introduction of LGBTQ storybooks we consider sufficient to trigger strict scrutiny in Mahmoud. Says, hey, chat, Jim and chat, Bella's lost her bed, is on a rug, and is under Jim, not above. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to do that. Yeah, she's, well, I can, hold on, I can. There. Her baby Bella was on the bed, and she moved off the bed, so. And he says, Marjorie says, yeah, I was really disappointed with the Georgia v. Gray verdict. The jury just granted the state the power to mandate mental health care. I don't get that. Like, and Bronca said, oh, I brought it up on Joe's show, and Bronca said, like, oh, well, I agree. If you gave a gun to somebody who's dangerous, it's like, well, did he know it? Did they prove that he knew he was dangerous? I don't know all that. There used to be a standard in the United States where you couldn't be held criminally liable for the, actions of someone, like someone else's deliberate actions. But that went away with the case in, Michigan. That was the first case. That, can't remember the name, but the case in Michigan, and then now this case. It just really seems to me like we're losing. We're really losing what it means for what the criminal justice system means in America, in my opinion. You shouldn't be held criminally responsible for the actions of for the deliberate actions of someone else. But that's my opinion. His son had a shrine to the Parkland shooter in his bedroom. Well, I don't know. I could see maybe like reckless endangerment or something like that, or but not second degree murder. Like that transitory guilt to me just seems not what's possible. California policies will likely not survive the strict scrutiny test that Mahmoud demands. The state argues that its policies advance a compelling interest in student safety and privacy. Students don't have an interest in privacy from their parents. That's their problem here. But those policies cut out the primary protectors of the children's best interest, their parents. Yes, because the demon rat, commie Marxist Maoists in California, they want to be control, control. It started out with, remember Hillary Clinton's, it takes a village to raise your children, not just the parents. Yeah, well, he was an obvious liar and denier, but lesser charge is not murder. Yeah. He says, if I give my 12-year-old car keys and someone gets killed, that's punishable. I'm not 100% sure about that. But basically, he didn't, that if you gave your 12-year-old your car keys, that would be your 12-year-old can't legally drive. Giving a 12 or 13-year-old a gun for Christmas is completely normal and happens in America since the founding of this country. So that's the difference. You can't have it both ways. Parents are to be held responsible for their kids, or they are not. Colin Gray goes free by California standards. Yeah, well, yeah. Praying for Washingtonians too. We're losing our parental rights, and Transformers are invading our girls' and women's spaces. Yeah. Amazing thing I see is how I've only heard this happening in gun violence cases. Are parents charged if kids sold drugs that killed? No. It says a rifle, yes. An automatic weapon is not the same. I think he didn't give him an automatic weapon. That would be a machine gun, which that would be a crime. Someone under the age of 18 is not allowed to own NFA item, which would be a machine gun and automatic weapon. So I think you're just, So the Supreme Court has handed historic victory to parents over California's secret gender transition policies. California's policies also appear to fail the narrow tailoring requirement. The state's interest in safety could be served by a policy that allows religious exemptions while precluding gender identity disclosure to parents who would engage in abuse. For these reasons, the parents who object to the California policies on free exercise ground are likely to succeed on their merits. So what I see, under the age of 18, it's not lawful for an AR and AK. They're just rifles. Those are just rifles. Just rifles. So, the only federal laws are, and it's not that it's that people under 18 can't, or it was 21, but people can't buy them. It was 21 for handguns and stuff like that. But a parent could give their kid a weapon for a present. That's going to fall. If the Supreme Court sees it, they're going to be like, "What are you doing? This has been the way it's been in this country since the founding. None of this has come up prior. There's never been any cases of this. There's never been any case of anyone trying to say a parent can't give their child a rifle or a handgun. Maybe, I don't know. But what if you let them drive around the property and they called the car and drove the car and took it to school one day? I don't know. The same is true for a subclass of parents who object on these policies for due process grounds. Under long-established precedent, parents, not the state, have a primary authority with respect to the upbringing and education of their children. The right protected by these precedents include the right not to be shut out of participation in decisions regarding the children's mental health. So what I see happening, what I see happening here is because they're like, oh, you could, for parents who would engage in abuse, what they will do is they will say that if you do not recognize or affirm, if you don't affirm their gender identity, that's abuse. That's what they're going to do. That's where they're going to go with this. They're going to drive, they left something open and the left is just going to drive a car right through it and say, oh, well, we're going to say that this is abuse. And we're going to have DCFS or whatever it's called in your state go and take the kids away if you don't affirm their gender transition or gender identity stuff. So liberal-leaning Justices Elena Kagan and Jackson, the latter of whom has repeatedly shown she's unable to define what a woman is, dissented, arguing the High Court is premature and interfering. Still, the justice admitted parents have what it takes to ultimately win the case. Yeah, they said they probably are going to win, but we don't want to do it. We want to let this go on. We want more kids to be abused by the state, more kids' parents to be separated from their parents. Yeah, but a parent must be responsible to teach the kids morals and how to use it. Yeah, but I mean, it's up to that kid to decide if they want to listen or not. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. The dad claimed Colt was a good kid because in his mind he was. So he said, "I am a gun owner and a licensed CCW. I believe in the Second Amendment." Good. None of this to say the court gets the merits here wrong. I may not, as to the plaintiff's free exercise claim or the substantive due process claim, or both. As to due process, particularly because, again, the claim alone does all the load-bearing work in this case. I have no doubt the parents have rights. Even though unenumerated, concerning their children and the life choices they make. First of all, it doesn't have to be written in the Constitution if it's something that's widely known that the state has. I mean, at the founding, what control did the state have over any kids? Hey, Rudd 1RN says, "For our troops, thank you so much." Yes, prayers and support. So now we are just $63 away from adding an extra hour to the show. Thank you so much. Oh, that kid didn't go to school? I don't know. He went to school. Brandy Cruz is covering the story in Washington. Teachers assisting in transitions and not informing the parents. Yeah. Kagan wrote for the Senate. On the other side of the ledger, of course, a state has critical interest in care and education of children. But California's policy in depriving all parents of information critical to their children's health and well-being could have crossed the constitutional line. Well, when exactly did the state have this critical interest in care and education of children? When did that happen? It wasn't in the wasn't in the 1700s. Didn't happen in the 1800s. Didn't happen really until the late 1900s is when all this stuff, public schools got pushed. It was after World War I. So that's not deeply rooted in the history and tradition of this country. And when you're interfering with First Amendment rights, which what it is. Upbringing of your children is your First Amendment rights to teach them whatever your religion or beliefs are. That's your rights. So, I disagree. It didn't happen until we started drugging our kids. Can schools assign a child a new sex-rejecting name and gender identity against parents' wishes and behind their backs? Today's code has had to reach out and metaphorically slap some sense into California on these obvious questions. It held California grossly violated parents' rights. Yeah, grossly violated parents' rights by secretly transitioning innocent kids because parents are responsible for their faith, morals, and health of their children, not woke California educrats. In dissent, Kagan and Kentanji, I'm not the biologist, Brown, Jackson, complained that the decision was premature and the Ninth Circuit should have ruled en banc first, but even they hint that they may ultimately agree with the result because California policy is really that bad. Perhaps that hint is why Sotomayor didn't join the dissent. KPT says, Jim, PayPal. Okay, thank you very much. So they got two notifications on PayPal. Oh, well, thank you so much, people on PayPal. Where's it at? Here. It says, KPT gave me $15. Thank you, KPT. Thank you so much. With that means we will take this down to, Bella went back in her bed. I'm going to move the camera in a second. So that means this comes down to $48 away from the first additional hour. Thank you so much, KPT. And then also another person donated 25. Well, with this verdict, a lot more will be drugged. Yeah. I haven't stuck in the bathroom today, toweling tubs around, so no one to talk to. Now everyone's asleep, so extra chatty tonight. No problem, KPT. And then someone else, I don't want to say her name. Let's just say her initials are AW. I don't know who that would be in the chat. Donated $25. Thank you so much on PayPal. So I will fix this real quick and say that we are now $23 away from adding an extra hour to the show. Thank you so much, AW. We like to chat. Yeah, we do. Thank you, AW. Here is Kagan's hint. I was talking about suggest secret transitioning maybe too much even for some of the liberals to swallow, considering that one of the plaintiffs found out about the subterfuge only after the child attempted suicide. And then none of this to say that the court gets the merits here wrong. So, yeah. So even the liberals know that this is a bridge too far. Which, does everyone know where that saying comes from, a bridge too far? That's actually from World War II, when Operation Market Garden, when they tried to go after those bridges, and the one bridge was a bridge too far. So that's what. Now I'm going to have to get her. Now I'm going to have to get her a toy and put it back, her doll, and put it back there in a second. But let's see here. Brandy Cruz was assaulted, sprayed with wasp killer during the Antifa-Trantifa violence near Seattle. Spoke with Nick Shirley at the Roundtable Destruction. Yeah, I remember. I'm almost 59 and female, so I'm glad I still do this work. It's my zen. Gundam Zix is yes, I know. Operation Market Garden, yes. The book of the same name, that's correct. So, what is this? We'll go back to this. It says the class action lawsuit was originally brought by 2 Christian teachers in California in 2023 and was later joined in 2024 by several concerned parents whose families have been impacted by the policy. Among the plaintiffs are John and Jane Poe, devout Catholic parents who allege they were never informed of their junior high daughter was being treated as a male at school for almost a year. Only when the child Poe unsuccessfully attempted suicide 6 months later did doctors treating her inform her parents about her ongoing gender transition at the school. The emergency request filed on behalf of the parents to the Supreme Court in January details this. You watch the roundtable, it's awful, that chemical warfare. And Spuds comes in, let's go, give Jim some shekels. Oh, Spuds, I mean. With that means we are now 21. We are now just blackjack, just 21 away from adding an extra hour to the show. Thank you all so much for your generosity. It's greatly appreciated. Unable to afford private school, her parents transferred her to another school and requested the school keep them informed about her gender presentation and the use of her legal name and biological pronouns, but the school refused to do so, citing the state's policy. Spuds, yeah, we should have gotten some from Joe. He was so out of it, he may not have remembered. Shekels. Oh, shekels. Okay, I get it now. The Poe parents thus remain completely sidelined by the school to this day, pursuant to California's policy that requires withholding information about their daughter's gender presentation at school. The emergency request states, the same is true for plaintiffs John and Jane Doe, also devout Catholics who were lied to by each of their daughter's teachers and eventually discovered that the school had begun to socially transition their daughter as early as 5th grade. They are still being denied notice about her current gender expression at school under the defendant's policy. Thomas More Society attorneys representing the parents filed the emergency application after the Ninth Circuit stayed the lower court decision blocking California's policy. On December 22nd, 2025, the federal district court issued a class-wide permanent injunction blocking the gender secrecy policies. On January 5th, 2026, the federal appeals court stayed the injunction, allowing policies to resume in schools as litigation continues. KBT says the last 4 shooters, how many were trans, women, girls? At least 3. Yeah, at least. Special counsel for the Thomas More Society and partner at La Mandre and Jana LLP called the Supreme Court's intervention a watershed moment for parental rights in America. The Supreme Court has told California and every state in the nation in no uncertain terms, you cannot secretly transition a child behind a parent's back. The court's landmark reaffirmation of substantive due process is vindictive of religious liberty. It's vindication of religious liberty. And its approval of a class-wide relief together sets a historic precedent that will dismantle secret gender transition policies across the country. We can hope so. I wonder if Joe went to jail, did not pass go, and did not collect $200. You know, yesterday when Joe was telling me I wasn't going to, or not yesterday, was it? The other day, I think it was, when was it? No, Sunday. Saturday or Sunday, I streamed with Joe. I can't remember which night it was. And he told me I wouldn't recognize him. I was going to say, oh, you're going to shave your beard? But I figured that was too obvious. So, I don't know. It says, Peter Breen, Executive Vice President and Head of Litigation at the Thomas More Society, said bureaucrats in California can no longer secretly facilitate a child's gender transition while shutting out parents. California built a wall of secrecy between parents and their children, and the Supreme Court just tore it down. This groundbreaking ruling will protect parents' rights to raise their children as they see fit for years to come. Hey, Mother Papillons, just popping in to say hi. Thank you for being here. That's awesome. How you doing? As a woman, estrogen makes you crazy for 3 days a month. I cannot imagine how nuts it'd be synthetic estrogen daily. These doctors should be charged criminally. Jayapal? What? Children's Hospital fudged the stats RE self-deletions pre-transitions following Z Monies. You're talking about Jayapal, I think she's a congresswoman, right, from Washington, right? The case will continue in lower courts and could eventually appear before the Supreme Court again. The case is Mirabelli v. Bonta in the Supreme Court of the United States. So that's good news. All right, that's good news. All right. I think. As the Federalist says, SCOTUS, we'll get that in a second. SCOTUS blocks California school policy hiding kids' gender presentation from parents. So basically, the High Court vacated the appeals court ruling, allowing California schools to hide gender presentation from parents. So yeah, that's a very interesting, case, and it's good news too. Then we got this one also out of the Supreme Court. KVD says, all I do is carpentry, drywall, tile, flooring, paint, plumbing. I do it all. Really fun. So SCOTUS shuts down New York's bid to redistrict GOP seat ahead of the 2026 midterms. So yeah. The U.S. Supreme Court shut down a bid by New York City courts to redistrict a Republican-controlled congressional seat ahead of the 2026 midterms on Monday. Yeah, it was Naval. In a 6-3 ruling, the High Court granted an emergency application for a temporary stay. A state judge's efforts to redraw Republican Rep. Nicole Malliotakis' congressional district. Malliotakis has represented New York's 11th congressional district since 2021 and won re-election by 28 points during the 2024 election. As described by The Hill, a state judge had ordered the boundaries to be redrawn after ruling the district dilutes Black and Latino voting strength in violation of the state constitution. So if they don't win, that means they're diluted. Supreme Court's Monday order granted Malliotakis' emergency application to block the ruling as litigation proceeds, effectively restoring her existing district lines for the midterms. We call Jayapal shovel face on off-label. The High Court noted that the New York court's ruling is stayed pending the disposition of appeal in the New York state courts and the filing of a petition at SCOTUS asking the justice to take up the case. The Supreme Court stay will terminate if it declines to hear the case or if it agrees to take up the case and renders a verdict on the matter. Associate Justices Sotomayor, Kagan, and Ketanji Brown Jackson would have denied the request for relief. Of course. Samuel Alito authored a concurring opinion in which he expressed agreement with the court's decision and blasted the New York judge's directive. This is crazy. Rudd says, a little off subject, but I was shocked to hear that drag queen bingo is a thing. I never heard of that. She was not male before she got HRT, not the same, but I understand what you mean. My mother would have benefited from that too. So yeah, so he says, Justice Alito says that this order blatantly discriminates on the basis of race and noted that the New York Supreme Court, that state's trial level court, ordered that New York Independent Redistricting Commission to draw a new congressional district for the express purpose of ensuring that minority voters are able to elect a candidate of their choice. That is unadorned racial discrimination, an inherently odious activity that violates the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause, except in the most extraordinary case. Extraordinary circumstances exist only when the challenged state conduct is narrowly tailored to achieve a compelling interest. And our precedents have identified only two compelling interests that can justify race-based government action. One, mitigating prison-specific risks and remediating specific identified instances of past discrimination that violated the Constitution or a statute. Neither of those instances is present here. In her dissent, Sotomayor joined Kagan, accusing the majority of ignoring every limit on federal court's authority by taking the unprecedented step of staying a state trial court's decision in a redistricting dispute on matters of state law. Oh, So we're just supposed to ignore. So they should have not done anything. They shouldn't have done anything. The Supreme Court shouldn't have done anything when the South was keeping black kids segregated, because that was a state law. They should have just left it alone, according to Sotomayor. So Brown v. Board of Education, the Supreme Court should have stayed the fuck out of the state law that said black kids couldn't go to school with white kids. What the fuck is she talking about? Wow. Such action, she claimed, violates basic principles of jurisdiction, federalism, and equity. Oh, equity. It's always about equity. But granting this application, the court thrusts itself in the middle of every election law dispute around the country, even as many states redraw their congressional maps. It also invites parties searching for sympathetic ear to file emergency applications directly with this court, even without even bothering to ask state courts first. They did ask the state court denied them. There's much reason to question whether the majority will exercise its newfound authority wisely, but there is no reason to question this. If you build it, they will come. Monday's ruling is the latest in a series of redistricting-related cases that come before the High Court ahead of the 2026 midterm elections. Within the past several months, the justices have effectively greenlit maps passed in Texas and California that bolster their respective ruling parties' chances of winning more seats this fall. Yes, because, according to the Supreme Court, you can gerrymander for political purposes, just for, the wise Lantina is not wise. And saying, I want, because Illinois has been doing it for, 40 years. Every time they get a little bit more power in Illinois, they gerrymander it for the to get Democrats more seats and more power. They've done it nonstop. Illinois used to have like Republican senators, Republican state governors, and not anymore. Not since they fucked around with all the lines in Illinois. So that's what they're pissy about. This story, Trump is exploring backing militias in Iran to topple the weakened regime following the strikes. Let's see. Oh, here's somebody going to talk about that. Let's see.
Hey.
Oh.
Stop what you're doing.
Stop what you're doing.
Pray with me.
Pray with me.
Really? Jesus Christ, Son of the living God, empty me. Remove me from everything holding me back. Fill me. Fill me with your love and your peace and your fire. Use me. I give you my life. Use it for your good, Lord. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Join me and millions of others in prayer on Hallow. Stay prayed up.
I don't want to talk specifics because that would tip the enemy off. We have more tactical aviation flowing in the theater just based on the time it took to get it out there. I think we're just about where we want to be in terms of total combat capacity and total combat power.
Stay prayed up.
You just heard General Raising Cane's update on the growing U.S. military tactics in the Middle East as today marks day 4 of Operation Epic Fury in Iran. The general also detailing the timeline of the operation beginning from a month ago when top U.S. military officials began to systematically reposition assets and personnel across the region, to describing the first attack as a single synchronized wave on Saturday in Tehran. Joining me now to give his military insight is decorated Navy Top Gun graduate, FA-18 fighter pilot, and founder of No Fallen Heroes Foundation, Matthew Wiz Buckley. Thank you, sir, so much for joining us, and thank you, of course, for your service. So the general gave a lot of information yesterday. What stood out most to you in terms of the details he gave about the operation unfolding right now?
Well, good morning, Carly. Thank you for having me. I know Raising Cane very well. I've known him for over 2 decades. He's a great American. When that man speaks, I sit up straight and I listen. The fact that he says we're just about there with everything we need in the region, and what the president and the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of War, said yesterday, we can sustain these operations for a long time. They are transmitting to the enemy that we're not going anywhere, and it's best to surrender or capitulate before this gets even worse. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that yesterday. He said the hard stuff hasn't started to come down yet. So we're in for a longer haul than just the couple days than we've seen so far.
Well, we have air superiority right now. Talk to us about the significance of that and what options that leaves Iran.
Zero. They really don't have any options. When you have command of the sky, you can do whatever you want. We had about 4 tankers airborne over Midnight Hammer. We have 25 to 50 tankers airborne. We have free flow over the airspace, which means we can pick and choose targets at will and not worry about any ground fire. Sadly, Carly, the only ground fire we have to worry about is friendly fire. Thank God that those 6 F-15E Strike Eagle crews ejected safely yesterday and were rescued. I'm more worried about our own forces than I am the Iranians at this point. It's over with as far as our air, sea, and mainly land powers as well.
So what's your prediction then in terms of timeline and then ultimate outcome?
Well, I think the outcome has always been a foregone conclusion. The president stated clearly, as did the Secretary of War, say we wanted to degrade their ballistic missile capability and their nuclear program. Any other order effects after that, whether it's, quote, regime change or anything like that, that's going to be up to the Iranian people. But the military objectives, once again, whether it was the Maduro raid or Operation Midnight Hammer or Epic Fury, we can project power around the globe and hit our mission objectives extremely quickly. What happens as far as the political objectives after that is going to be up to
what happened
to the people of Iran. But as an American who was a kid, when I saw the hostages taken and the USS Cole and the Beirut barracks and Khobar towers and the 608 Marines, sailors, and soldiers killed by Iranian forces in Iraq, today is a good day.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yep. So let me address a couple things in the chat real quick. Trump keeps saying this will be short, making the expectations crazy.
Stop what you're doing. Pray with me.
I wish you would say it's going to take the time it needs to take and leave it at that. Yeah. You can't. You don't want to put undue expectations on everything, because then you don't want to leave before the job is done. You don't want to do that, because then it's worse. If you leave before the job's done, it's worse than it was before you went in sometimes. Also, Spuds gifted one Jim Tell You membership. Thank you so much. And let's see, that went to Snazzy Trinkets. Snazzy Trinkets received the gifted membership from Spuds. Thanks Spuds for gifting Snazzy Trinkets a membership. Amazing Disgrace says Fox has a bunch of new people at. I've never seen them before. I wonder who's out. I think that was Carly Shimkus, wasn't that? Or no, was that Carly Shimkus? I think so. Yeah. That's awesome. You look nice in blue. Trump's short is nothing like Bush's 20 years. Yeah. Yes, please give more asset information. Yeah, that's probably done. Shot down by a Kuwaiti F-18 driver. It's going to take as long as it's going to take. That's right. It's going to take as long as it's going to take. Thanks for being here, Denisha Brittle. If Trump said a short period of time, he certainly wasn't talking about Afghanistan war that was almost 20 years long. Yeah, I mean, the expectation that he puts on a mission is what the MSM used against him. I don't want to give them crap to say. Yeah. I've heard Trump's world attitude over Obama's apology tour, definitely. Salty, we don't want to spend a whole bunch of money to do what we need to do. Vince says, one Fox person who left is Katie Pavlich. She went to News Nation with her own 1 hour a night show. Yeah. I always liked Katie Pavlich. I thought she was not, easy on the eyes and was very intelligent. I also liked Lisa Booth a lot. The internet went out randomly. It's sus. Yeah, right. Does anyone know what percentage of the multi-role fighters on carriers nowadays are F-35s, Bs, and Cs? I don't have that information. What's it say? U.S. Gateway Pundit, new U.S. Southern Command says U.S. Ecuadorian forces. All right, I'm going to have to pull that up and see what that is, because that looks interesting. What? No, get out of here. Why do I keep getting this stupid ad stuff? This real quick. I'll do that. So Trump is open to the idea of supporting militias in Iran, willing to help take out the regime, according to reports. The Wall Street Journal reported that Trump has spoken with Kurdish leaders who have a sizable force along the Iraq-Iran border. Hey, absent-minded, great to see you. Thanks for being here. That's that claim to be MAGA are driving me. We are simply taking care of unfinished business with a regime that literally chants death to America. Yeah. President Trump has spoken with many regional partners. The White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told the newspaper in a statement without confirming Trump's aims. Trump spoke with two leaders of the main Kurdish factions in Iraq, Masoud Barzani and Bafel Talabani, a day after the Saturday bombing campaign began. Officials told the Journal that Trump hasn't made a decision on the matter, including what type of help the United States will provide, be it arms, intelligence, or other resources. I'm pretty sure we're already pretty sure. You worked on Abraham Lincoln at Bremerton, Washington. Don't know the percentage of F-16s, though. Okay. In disgrace, of course, it was a year ago, but Hegseth, Judge Janine, and Duffy all left the air to join the Trump administration. Plus, Geraldo got thrown on his ass for being a douche. Yeah. Carriers only have F-35Cs. Crayon eaters on the LPA-Hs fly the F-35Bs. Among the approaches being looked at for Iran moving forward are backing militias while weighing different scenarios that could realistically take power after country leaders fall. Trump has urged the people of Iran to overthrow the country's regime as Tehran appears to be weakened following the U.S. and Israeli military strikes that have killed several key Iranian leaders. Most of the people we had in mind are dead, he told reporters at the White House, and now we have another group. They may be dead also. Pretty soon we're not going to know anybody. The strikes have fueled speculation that the Kurds could advance into Iran amid Israeli strikes in the western part of the country. It is the general view, and certainly Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's view, that the Kurds are going to come out of the woodwork and they're going to rise up. That's interesting. I will talk about this in a second. Okay, yes. All right. So let's do this. We'll jump here. This story, it says the CIA is working to arm Kurdish forces to spark uprising in Iran. F-35As are chair force. The CIA is working to arm the Kurdish forces with the aim of fomenting a popular uprising in Iran. Multiple people familiar with the plan told CNN. The Trump administration has been in active discussions with Iranian opposition groups and Kurdish leaders in Iraq, providing them with military support. Iranian Kurdish armed groups have thousands of forces operating along the Iraq-Iran border, primarily in Iraq's Kurdistan region. Several of the groups have released public statements since the beginning of the war, hinting at imminent action and urging Iranian military forces to defect. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard has been striking Kurdish groups and said on Tuesday that it targeted Kurdish forces with dozens of drones. Yes, Bella does look comfortable, doesn't she? Also on Tuesday, President Trump spoke with the president of the Democratic Party of Iranian Kurdistan, KDPI, Mustafa Hardji. According to a senior Iranian Kurdish official, KDPI is one of the groups targeted by the IRGC. Katie left Foul News for her new show on News Network. Or News Nation, well deserved. Spain reps are saying they want out of NATO. I say we should leave NATO. Putin needs the expansion to take care of Europe's stand. So, Iranian Kurdish opposition forces are expected to take part in a ground operation in western Iran in the coming days. The senior Iranian Kurdish official told CNN, "We believe we have a big chance now." Explaining the timing of the operation, source added that militias expect U.S. and Israeli support. Trump also called Iraqi Kurdish leaders on Sunday to discuss the military operation on Iran and how the U.S. and the Kurds could work together as the mission progresses. Two U.S. officials and a third source familiar with the conversation said, as first reported by Axios. Any attempt to arm Iranian Kurdish groups would need support from the Iraqi Kurds to let the weapons transit and use Iraqi Kurdistan as a launching ground. Yes, we should get out of NATO. Oh shit, Jim is doing pretty go on Rumble now? Basco sauce? What do you mean? Something's wrong on Rumble? What's wrong on Rumble? I don't know what you mean. What's wrong? What did I do wrong on Rumble? Amazing Disgrace, I have not watched her show on News Nation yet. She's very well based, but going to work the same place as Cuomo makes me hesitant. She was only a contributor on Fox, so I meant pretty good. Oh, okay. Well, I appreciate that. Well, I got rated by Joe on Rumble, so that's probably why. think like I don't only have like 15, 20 people on Rumble myself. It seems, I don't know. Rumble's been very hard to grow on. Like I started streaming on Rumble and YouTube at the same time, and I've grown 4 times larger on YouTube than Rumble. So one person familiar with discussion said that the idea would be for Kurdish armed forces to take on the Iranian security forces and pin them down to make it easier for unarmed Iranians in major cities to turn out and without getting massacred again as they were during the unrest in January. That makes sense. Another U.S. official said the Kurds could help sow chaos in the region and stretch the Iranian regime's military resources thin. Still, the other idea has centered around whether the Kurds could take and hold territory in the northern part of Iran that would create a buffer zone for Israel. The CIA declined to comment on the story, clearly trying to jumpstart an uprising. Alex Plitzas, a CNN national security analyst and former senior Pentagon official. Wow. What do we know? Says I received another donation on PayPal. I don't know what name to say with this, so I will just say CA, Mr. CA on PayPal. Just
tactical assessment. Red Chinese victory. Impossible. America will never fall to communist invasion. Communism is the very definition of failure.
Thank you so much. Spud says that was you. Okay, so Spuds gave me $21 on PayPal. Thank you so much, Spuds. And with that, that means we are now $100 away from adding a second additional hour to the show. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Spuds, for the $21. That's great. Hey, Apranisi. What's up, Jim? Good to see you again. Thanks for being here over there on there. Poland is where my grandparents came from. Jim forgets to post his Rumble link on X sometimes. I haven't been posting any links. I haven't been posting any links on X at all. I haven't done it all. So that sound effect is twice as loud as you, Jim. I didn't know if you knew it. Is it really? All right. Sorry. I wonder if something happened. Let me look. Maybe something went wrong again with my sound. Hardware and sound, manage devices, recording, recording. What? Oh, you guys can't hear me? Can you hear me now? Sorry, I don't know what happened. Something went wrong with my sound. So that sound effect is twice as loud as yours, Jim. I don't know if you knew. To me, it sounds not loud, so I don't know. I don't know. It says, Jim is close to 2K subs, and if you haven't subscribed, no one will stop you. That's right. Thank you so much. Space Wizard says he's got bad news. He was diagnosed with HIV today. Well, it's not a death sentence anymore. There's all types of drugs and stuff you can take. Definitely more airtime per slot per week, but huge ratings difference. That's awesome. I met many Poles in Iraq. Great troops. Yeah. You're muted. Okay, you're back. Yeah. If you're not having subscribed, no one will stop you. Do it. Yes, thank you. Thanks, Jim. It startled me out of my chair. Now, yes. You see the mass shooter in Delaware that killed 10 people at a bar was an Iranian radical. News coming in now. Seriously, another one? Seriously, Greg, another one? I don't know. Did you guys see that the person with the Iranian flag from what was it, Senegal in Austin, Texas, that was shot up the bar and killed a bunch of people? 3 cops came and killed them, and the Soros, DA in Austin, is taking them to a grand jury to try and indict the 3 fucking officers for killing the fucking terrorist. Did you see that? Can you believe that? This is why you can't vote for these demon rats. They are fucking demons. They're going after the cops for shooting a fucking terrorist that was shooting people in a bar. Like, what were they supposed to do? Go, well, wait, stop, don't. Like, they stopped a mass shooting, and he's going after him for it because they should have found a different way to deal with this because he was, a person of color. This is fucking ridiculous, the country we're living in now. Seriously. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. And still a death sentence, lifetime subscription to Big Pharma. So, hell, I can believe it. Yeah. It's terrible. So the Iranian, it's clearly, Alex Pitts of the CIA says President Barack Obama, under Barack Obama, said the U.S. is clearly trying to jumpstart the process of Iranians overthrowing the regime by arming the Kurds, a historic U.S. ally. Yes, the Dems are depraved. They all are. The Iranian people are generally unarmed as a whole, and unless the security services collapse, it will be difficult for them to take over unless someone arms them. Yes. I believe the U.S. is hopeful that this will inspire others on the ground in Iran to do the same. Yeah, no concern for the victims or their families. It's disgusting what's going on. Jen Gavito, a former senior State Department official specializing in the Middle East under former President Joe Biden, said she's concerned about whether the implications of arming the Kurds have been fully considered. Fuck off. We are already facing a volatile security situation on both sides of the border. This has the potential to undermine Iraqi sovereignty and essentially empower armed militias with no accountability, with no understanding of what it might set in motion. But wait, it's their land. The Kurds, it's been the Kurds' land forever. Aren't they entitled to do what they want with their land? In recent days, the Israeli military has been striking Iranian military and police outposts along its border with Iraq, in part to lay the groundwork for the possible flow of armed Kurdish forces into the northwest of Iran, one source said. Israeli source said those strikes are likely to intensify in the coming days. Still, any U.S. and Israeli support for Kurdish ground forces tasked with helping to dislodge the Iranian regime would need to be extensive. U.S. intelligence assessment has consistently indicated that the Iranian Kurds don't currently have the influence or resources to bolster a successful uprising against the government. The Iranian Kurdish parties are looking for political assurances from the Trump administration before committing to join any resistance effort. Kurdish opposition groups are also fractured with a history of tension, different ideologies, competing agendas, and some Trump officials who have been involved in discussions about supporting the groups have concerns about their motivations in aiding the U.S. Why do all the terrorists look white? Yeah, that guy from Senegal and the guy from Senegal in Texas sure looked white. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. DAs in Florida do dumb shit. DeSantis removes them. It happened at a black bar in Claymont, Delaware. Most victims were likely African Americans. Pray for them. It was an attack by Iran. Yeah, well, that's something that they would actually do because they want to sow dissent with the African American community because they think that that's going to be be able to cause tensions and cause an uprising or civil war in the United States. Apparently, workers at the Polmico refinery were there. I wouldn't be surprised if Soros funding is somewhere in the terrorist chain. Well, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. I mean, Soros is funding these DAs who are doing this other shit. So we're going to breeze right through the newly diagnosed HIV payment. All right, then, good luck. Yeah, white men shoot people. Yeah, they do. But you know what? Not the majority of people in this country. It's weird, right? That white men, unless you want to classify, you want to lump in all the Mexican and Hispanic and the Puerto Ricans and the Dominicans, lump them in with white people. Huh? Yeah. George Soros has a grudge against the Polmecki refinery since the 1940s. Fitzy says, we're going to see false flag sleeper cells in America trying to sway us into backing Trump. Or we could also just see actual sleeper cells of Iranians trying to sow dissent in America, or cause chaos. Bring back Helter Skelter. Yeah. I missed the white, not white game. It'll be back. I'm a white Puerto Rican. There you go. Joe's a white Puerto Rican. Let's go, Brandon. Yeah. Just saying. I already backed Trump. Officials have raised concerns about whether the dynamic could jeopardize the U.S.-Kurds working relationship now, given the amounts of trust needed for this type of cooperation. It may not be as simple as Americans convincing a proxy force to fight on its behalf. You have a group of people who are thinking about their own interests, and the question is whether getting them involved aligns with their interests. So you don't think the Kurds, who have been begging us to help them set up, the Kurds want their own country. All right, that's what the Kurds want. The Kurds want guarantees of their own country or representation in a government. They don't want to be this group of people that's constantly getting murdered by every government. You know, they're murdered by Turkey. They're murdered by, Syria. They're murdered by Iran. They're murdered by Iraq. They're murdered by everybody. Yeah, remember the whole. Anyone ever see the movie The Dictator with what the hell's his name? The guy that did Borat. I can't think of his name right now, but anyway, where they go, gas the Kurds, gas the Kurds. That's been a thing. Yeah, history can be hilarious. Yeah, joke, definitely. I know it's a joke. I know it's a joke. I know it's a joke. Duck fat. How long before China starts acting a fool because their oil is being cut off by Trump? I don't know. Could be soon. Could be later. But this basically, they can't. I don't think Sacha Baron Cohen. Yeah, that's his name. Kurds are our version of Republicans. Okay. Sacha Baron Cohen. I know I butchered the name. The CIA, Mossad, military-industrial complex always wins in the game of money and blood. All right. I voted in the Texas primary as a demon rat so I could pick the best Democrats to run against my reps. This guy's saying, Paul McCoy, CEO Thomas B. Paul released a statement urging Trump to strike Iran even harder after this attack. All right, I'm going to have to look this up. I'll have to look this up. Nothing is coming up right now. Let me see. Nothing is coming up on Google about an attack in Delaware. So do you have a link for a story or something? Anyone got a link for the story about Delaware? You had to vote against Jazz Crockett. Why? She would have been a better run against somebody. There's open primaries in Texas. KBT, I hope you voted 3 times. Yeah. I remember Kurds were murdered by Iraqis when they lived in the northern hemisphere of Iraq. Iraq's also murdered the Christians in southern Iraq during the Tigris and Euphrates. Yeah. Where's he at? This guy, Greg Miller. Is there a link anywhere at all that you know of somewhere? Where's this story? U.S. has a long history with the Kurds. The Kurdish people are an ethnic minority group without an official state. Today, there are an estimated 25 to 30 million Kurds. So there's 25 to 30 million Kurds, and they don't have a state of their own. They're divided up against all these other countries because at the time when the British decided to carve up the Middle East, they just didn't think the Kurds mattered. So they just chucked them all over the place, or maybe they thought the Kurds were going to be a problem. I don't know. The majority lives in a region that stretches parts of Turkey, Iraq, Iran, Syria, and Armenia. Most Kurds are Sunni Muslims, but the Kurdish population has diverse cultural, social, religious, and political traditions, as well as a variety of dialects. Not seeing anything. Ari of Delaware shooting. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. This guy's saying all this stuff. This guy put out a statement, all this stuff. I am not seeing it anywhere. Many Trump administration officials have privately warned of the disillusionment of Kurdish forces have felt when working with the U.S. in the past, and their frequent complaints of feeling hung out to dry by the Americans. Well, yeah, I mean, when you say you're going to help them and then they get gassed and we don't do anything about it, it kind of makes them think like we're full of shit. There's a concern if the uprising is unsuccessful and the U.S. withdraws, it will add to the narrative of abandoning the Kurds. Trump's former Secretary of Defense, Jim Mattis, resigned in part because Trump moved to pull U.S. forces out of Syria in his first term. Joe says, I see nothing. They hope they want to be patriotic, not burn it. Which Mattis views as unacceptable abandonment of the U.S. Kurdish allies there. The CIA has a long, complex history of working with the Kurds, Iraqi Kurds dating back decades as part of the U.S. war in Iraq. The agency currently has an outpost in Iraqi Kurdistan located near the border with Iran, according to two people familiar with the matter. Well, some Kurds has hoped in exchange for working with U.S. forces, the semi-autonomous Kurdistan region of Iraq would win its independence. Kurds are the evidence that Iraq had WMDs. Real Wook says Brandon Herrera and Rhino adulterer Tony Gonzalez are moved to a runoff election in May after neither received 50%. Yeah. Says, do you have a Patreon or Discord where you interact with fans? I do have a Discord. I do have a Discord. If you go to my YouTube channel, it's if you go to my YouTube channel, the link to my Discord's in the YouTube channel. I guess I could put it in. I never thought to put it in Twitch. Does anyone really trust the CIA? Not really. Greg says it's a local event to me. It just, you look like shit today happened. I have a few links from Delaware Online, another website, but links aren't working. So what you're saying is Delaware Online. I'll look for Delaware Online. Okay. You're glad Herrera's still in it. If you trust the CIA, you must be a commie. I'm surprised. I was surprised to discover that Sunni Muslims live in Asia. Yeah. Did you ever see the guy who beat Crenshaw support Israel too? Did you see the guy? I don't know who the guy was. Delaware shooter, Williamsburg, Coulter effect. Yeah. Oh, because they're not talking about it? Okay. Yeah, because that's what it is. If they're not talking about it, you know what it is. So let's see. I'll go to Delaware Online. You're saying it was a mass shooting? I don't see nothing. I don't see nothing in Delaware Online, dude. I'm at the page. I don't see it. Nothing about a mass shooting. Nothing at all, man. Nothing at all in Delaware Online, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know if you're fucking with me or not. So, I don't know. The U.S. also checked on Twitter. Nothing. I don't see the Iran thing working out well without all-out war. I checked your YouTube channel and couldn't find a Discord link. It's in there. It's in the description. Okay. Types and minuses. Stop taking story leads from the chat. Just ask correct to verify. Trolls be wasting our time. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't know. We'll look for it. So the U.S. also leaned heavily on the Kurds in recent years as part of a campaign to counter Islamic State forces in Iraq, and it included taking on the responsibility of guarding thousands of ISIS detainees at makeshift prison camps. However, earlier this year, U.S.-aligned Syrian government launched a swift military campaign to take control of the country's north that included attacks against ISIS and pushed out the Kurdish Syrian Democratic Forces. Facing that campaign, Kurdish forces evacuated and stopped guarding the ISIS prisons when U.S. forces pulled out of the country. In January, a U.S. Special Envoy for Syria, Tom Barak, said the purpose of U.S. alliance with the SDF has largely expired. So we'll have to see what happens with that. This just says Trump weighs support for armed Iranian opposition groups. So I think we'll have to see what happens. He's open to supporting groups in Iran that will take up arms to dislodge the regime. No. According to U.S. officials cited by the Wall Street Journal, the report said the idea could position Iranian factions as ground forces, at least rhetorically, backed by Washington as the conflict in Tehran deepens. Officials told the paper that Trump spoke on Sunday with Kurdish leaders. So we saw all this stuff. Let's go to this next one. Next story here. U.S. Southern Command says U.S. and Ecuadorian forces have launched operation against narco-terrorist organization in Ecuador. Releases footage. Yeah, I saw that. Bruce Campbell has treatable, not curable cancer. Yeah. As war rages in the Middle East, Trump's war on the designated terrorist drug cartels in the Western Hemisphere continues, with the U.S. Southern Command announcing a joint operation with Ecuadorian military forces in Ecuador. Well, of course, Ecuadorian military forces in Ecuador. Who else would they team up with in Ecuador? Panamanian military forces in Ecuador? Anyway, the operation began on Tuesday against narco-terrorists who have long inflicted terror, violence, and corruption on citizens throughout the hemisphere, Southcom said in a statement. U.S. Southcom also released footage that appeared to tease the operation.
This literally saved my marriage.
Wow, that saved your marriage?
Every time
wow,
he takes
cool.
it, it's like
Awesome.
the first time.
Southcom said on March 3rd, Ecuadorian and U.S. military forces launched operations against the designated terror organization in Ecuador. The operations are a powerful example of the commitment of partners in Latin America and the Caribbean to combat the scourge of narcoterrorism. Together, we are taking decisive action to confront narcoterrorists who have been long inflicted terror, violence, and corruption on citizens throughout the hemisphere. We commend the men and women of the Ecuadorian armed forces for their unwavering commitment to this fight, demonstrating courage and resolve through the continued actions against narco-terrorists in their country. This comes as U.S. forces continue drug boat strikes in the Caribbean Sea and Eastern Pacific. U.S. forces conducted several strikes last month on vessels operated by designated terrorist organizations. U.S. blows up another drug boat. It's a developing story, so we're going to have to keep an eye on it. See what's going on there. I got this story. This is like a story. I don't know if you guys saw this. Someone wants to know, is your dog asleep or is that a photograph? It's actually a stuffed animal that's on wires. Occasionally I'll use my toes to move the wires to make her move. So, you subscribed? Thank you for subscribing. And studying flip-flop, the DOJ suddenly revised bid to sanction law firms. So they were talking about, oh my God, the Trump administration is not backing the lawsuit, no longer fighting the appeal against the executive order to go after the law firms for the lawfare that they did. And then it turns out that nobody told Trump that they weren't doing it. And once Trump found out, and Stephen Miller, like, what the fuck are you talking about? You need to go pursue this lawsuit. And so they're calling it a flip-flop because they didn't tell Trump. And it's in a stunning flip-flop, just 24 hours after the Justice Department said it was dropping its appeal of a 4 trial court rulings that struck down Trump's sanctions against law firms, Jenner and Block, WilmerHale, Perkins Coie, and Sussman Godfrey. The DOJ told the court Tuesday that it plans to press forward with the defense of President Trump's executive order sanctioning the law firms. The Wall Street Journal reports that the department said in a court filing that the federal appeals court in Washington hadn't yet ruled on its request the previous day to dismiss the case, and that it was the administration's prerogative instead to pursue them further. Judges across the ideological spectrum has ruled against the president's attempt to punish law firms amounted to unconstitutional retaliation. The Justice Department, DOJ, filed a motion March 2nd seeking to drop its appeals of lower court decisions that struck down President Trump's executive orders sanctioning 4 law firms. In its motion, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Circuit Court of Columbia, DOJ said it decided to voluntarily dismiss its appeal of the rulings that sided with the law firms. The DOJ never provided any explanation. Trump issued the orders in March 2025. They stated the firms abused their pro bono practice to engage in activities that undermine justice and interests of the United States. The orders directed all executive departments and agencies to suspend security clearances of individuals alive in the law firm while clearances were being, hold on a second. Order directs all executive departments and agencies to suspend security clearance with individual law firms. Those clearances are being reviewed to see whether they align with national interests, terminating contracts with law firms and limit their employees' access to government buildings. The 4 law firms filed challenges to Trump's orders, arguing the orders were unconstitutional and violated their First Amendment rights. Federal judges handling the case subsequently ruled in favor of the firms and struck down the orders last year. The Trump administration reached deals with the 9 other law firms targeted by Trump's orders, which agreed to provide pro bono legal services to the White House to uphold fairness in the justice system. In response to DOJ's latest filings, General blocks the decision makes permanent the rulings of 4 federal judges who found the president's executive orders were unconstitutional. Our partnership is proud to have stood firm on the behalf of its clients, and we look forward to continuing to serve them, guided by these bedrock values for many decades to come. Susan Godfrey said the filings indicate the government is no longer trying to defend what the firm deemed an indefensible executive order. The government has capitulated, which is a fitting end. Perkins Coie said the dismissal of the appeal means the district court's decision stands as a final order. Yeah, but they didn't. So they didn't dismiss it. They actually said no because because it turns out nobody told Trump about it. So that's what happened. Justice Department versus course. So it's walking back its move to end the appeals. The Justice Department informed the appeals court that it's now seeking to withdraw its voluntary dismissal. Lawyers with the 4 firms opposed the move, calling it unexplained about face. Yesterday evening, the administration told the court it gave up and wouldn't even try to defend an unconstitutional order. Today it reversed. That's because the lawyer who probably said that was probably a fucking demon rat plant deep state fucko that went in to try to purposely tank it and say, like, just like the one who went in and said, I don't know, man. I don't know. We must have deported that guy. It was our fault. Yeah, we shouldn't have deported him. Yeah, I know. We fucked up. And they're purposely doing this. And these lawyers who do it should actually be disbarred because they're not representing their client the way they're supposed to. They're supposed to do what the client wants, not what they want. So the Justice Department written arguments were due in the ongoing appeals in coming days. The appeals court has not yet signed off on the government's initial motion. Justice Department declined to comment on reversal. A spokesman for the White House did not immediately respond. The ruling stand. Yeah, so let's see. So come on, where's the? I saw it earlier that when Trump and Stephen Miller found out that they were trying to dismiss, they weren't opposed to dismiss that. They went in and said, "I just dismiss it." They wigged out and said, "What the fuck are you doing?" It's always nice to be seen rather than viewed. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, because they had to go in with a deputy. Justice Department made a stunning U-turn. The department's new filings, but the move was startling given the action Monday when DOJ told the same court it reached agreements with the 4 terms to shut down the appeals. Deputy Associate Attorney General Abhishek Kambli told the court that it hadn't accepted dismissal, so there shouldn't be any harm in letting the cases proceed. Under no circumstance, the government unexplained about face provided basis for an extension for its briefings. Appeals court hadn't indicated whether it would allow withdrawal of the motion. Mr. Trump had ordered the government to take steps to cancel contract security clearances. Mr. Trump, the president also targeted other firms. So, where's the stuff? I saw it. Where is it? Why is it not anywhere in here? They're not saying anything about it anywhere. Anyway. All right, next story. I don't know what happened. I saw it. No, I can't find it. The U.S. turns up the heat on Venezuela with the threat to indict new leader Delcy Rodriguez. So, new leader of Venezuela. What do you know? The Trump administration is quietly building a legal case against Venezuelan interim President Delcy Rodriguez, including readying a draft criminal indictment, one of several tools it uses to strengthen its leverage with Caracas, according to 4 people familiar with the matter. Federal prosecutors have put together possible corruption and money laundering charges and have communicated to Rodriguez that she is at risk of prosecution unless she continues to comply with Trump's demands following the U.S. ouster of former Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro in January. Reuters has not seen the charges in written form being prepared, but spoke with 4 people briefed on the matter. These people shouldn't be leaking this stuff out. You're not. This is all stuff that's supposed to be supposed to be kept secret until the indictments are unsealed and the people are arrested. U.S. Attorney's Office in Miami is preparing to draft charges, people said, adding that the document has been evolving over the past 2 months. The probe focuses on Rodriguez's alleged involvement in laundering the funds of Venezuela's state oil company, 3 of the sources said. The Department of Justice declined to comment after a summary report was published on Reuters. Attorney General Todd Blanche wrote on X, completely false. Not sure how such fake news makes its way to publications. Sounds like they're getting our reservations ready at the big house. Yeah. The White House and U.S. State Department don't respond to Reuters' request for comment. See, they can just publish it, and then when people go no, they go, well, we didn't get an official response. It's kind of crazy. Separate from the draft indictment, the U.S. officials have presented Rodriguez with a list of at least 7 former high-level party officials, associates, and family members that it wants her to arrest or to keep in Venezuelan custody for potential extradition. Rodriguez is facing this threat just 2 months after taking power, following a lightning raid by U.S. Special Forces who captured Maduro and whisked the longtime authoritarian leader away to New York for trial on charges of narcoterrorism, cocaine trafficking. Maduro pleaded not guilty and is being held in New York pending trial. Bro, going in and stealing another president would be such a power move. Yeah, that would be funny. Trump has heaped praise on Rodriguez for cooperating with the U.S. and hailed Venezuela as our new friend and partner. But the draft indictment is yet another bargaining chip the United States has in its attempt to compel members of the Venezuelan government, once loyal to Maduro, to carry out its wishes. The Venezuelan Communication Ministry, which handles all press queries for the government, did not respond to a detailed list of questions about the potential charges being drafted against Rodriguez. The drafting of an indictment does not necessarily indicate a case will be presented to a prosecutor or to a grand jury, which would then have to find there is probable cause to believe Rodriguez committed a crime. The fact that they're publishing this stuff about somebody talking about something that might be presented and what it is insane. These people, whoever are leaking this stuff out, should be fired and actually arrested because this is a violation of law, leaking this stuff out. Since the capture of Maduro's wife, Trump has relied on Rodriguez, 56-year-old former vice president, to guarantee stability, and since the capture of Maduro and his wife, so they've relied on Rodriguez, the former vice president, to guarantee stability in Venezuela while he prioritizes U.S. companies' access to OPEC nations' oil reserves. Flores also pleaded not guilty. Other members of Rodriguez's administration who have already been indicted in the United States include her hardline Interior Ministry, Dicendodo Cabello, and Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino, who are, along with Rodriguez, longtime members of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela. Oh, what do you know? Another socialist party. What do you know? A bunch of criminals. Jeez, I wonder about that. And they both still in power post-Maduro and have consistently denied wrongdoing. Many of the individuals whom the U.S. wants Rodriguez to arrest or keep in detention have already have indictments in the U.S. For money laundering, drug trafficking, and other crimes, according to 4 sources familiar with the matter. Terry, good night. You friends, thanks for the company. No problem, Terry. We're glad to have you here. Thank you for the generous donations and for covering the Bellavision for the evening. The only socialist club I want to belong to has a bouncer and a bar. That's a social club. Social club. Laura Dugu, newly appointed U.S. envoy to Venezuela, put the request to Rodriguez, the sources told Reuters. Among the high-profile names is Alex Saab, who rose to prominence as a close Maduro ally and has become the most influential financial operators within the Chavista movement, according to 4 sources. Following an Interpol notice requested by the United States, Saab was previously arrested by local authorities in Cabo Verde in 2020 while traveling to Iran on an official mission for the Maduro government. Extradited to the United States, he faced bribery and money laundering charges for alleged routing $350 million from a corrupt Venezuelan housing construction scheme through the U.S. financial system before he was released in 2023 by the Biden administration in a prisoner swap. That's right, folks. You heard it here first. The Biden administration sends criminals back, just like all the other demon rat prosecutors and demon rats, judges and mayors and governors. They want the criminals back out there to commit more crimes so that you can say, oh, control me more, daddy government. Take more control of me. Yo, what's up, Spuds? Great to see you. Reuters reported Saab was arrested in early February, and 2 sources said he remains detained by the Venezuelan intelligence services. The U.S. has a new sealed money laundering indictment against Saab, 2 of the sources said, but its status is not immediately known. If extradited, Saab could provide information to the U.S. authorities that could bolster their criminal case against Maduro. It's unclear whether Saab, a Colombian who was granted Venezuelan citizenship by Maduro, will be extradited to the United States. Venezuelan law prohibits the extradition of Venezuelan nationals, a barrier for several of the people Washington is seeking. Saab's U.S.-based lawyer, Neil Shyster, who did not respond to detailed questions about whether Saab has been detained, any charges he may be facing, or whether he had offered any testimony about Maduro during his previous U.S. detention. Yo, DF, what's up, man? Duck Fat, what's up? Gorin faces other names include media mogul Raul Gorin, who has also been detained by CBN in Venezuela within the past month. Gorin faces multiple federal charges in the U.S., primarily tied to bribery, money laundering, and corruption involving Venezuelan state oil company PDVSA. Gorin did not respond to emails and a text message seeking comment, nor did his media business Global Vision. Howard Srebnick, a Miami attorney who previously represented Gorin, did not immediately return a request for comments. So they're trying to keep pressure on to get these people to do what they want, to do their bidding. I guess that's what's most important to them. USA Today has the same thing. U.S. turns up the heat on Venezuela with threats to indict new leader Delcy Rodriguez. And we got this story, which is just fucking crazy, man. This story is crazy. Greg McNeely says, thanks, Jim. Mañana. Vivaldi time. Thank you. Global Homo Vision. Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that like the what was it called? Like Global Gym or something from, what was it called? Dodgeball. Bernie Sanders goes nuclear on billionaires with the craziest tax proposal yet. That's right. Bernie Sanders wants to tax, they have a specific number, 938 people. It's rolling out yet another exercise in class warfare fantasy legislation on Monday. This time a proposal to extract a staggering $4.4 trillion from the nation's roughly 1,000 billionaires through an annual 5% annual wealth tax. The bill introduced by the House Representative Ro Khanna. Oh, what do you know? Ro Khanna, Thomas Massey's best buddy that he pals around with, the fucking libertarian, his best buddy, wants to do this. Wow. I wonder if Massey's going to support this and say it's the libertarian position to take 5% of people's money that they don't actually have. The funds would be funneled into a familiar laundry list of progressive wish items, including $3,000 cash payments to Americans earning under $150,000 annually, a $60,000 minimum salary for every public school teacher, an expansion of the Medicare to include dental, vision, and hearing coverage, along with big government expansions, according to the Post. In a democratic society, we can no longer tolerate a rigged economy where so few have so much while so many have so little, Sanders said in a statement obtained by the Post. This revenue would be used to substantially improve the lives of American people and address some of the major crises facing working families. It would literally destroy the fucking stock market, like immediately, because these people would have to sell they want to tax them on the stock they own. Terry, it was the Let's Go Brandon flag that was taken. Just saw your chat. The billionaire class no longer sees itself as part of American society. They see themselves as something separate and apart, like the oligarchs of the 18th century, the kings and queens of the czars. They believe they have divine right to rule and no longer subject to democratic governance. The bill echoes the Vermont Socialist 2020 pitch. Yeah, taxing unrealized gains is fucking criminal. It is. It is. Highly unconstitutional, too. Yeah, when he floated a progressive wealth tax starting at 1% on fortunes above roughly $32 million for couples and climbing to 8% over $10 billion. Projected to then to raise $4.35 trillion over a decade to bankroll Medicare. Doesn't Bernie know a lot of these billionaires are Marxist Democrats? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's funny, all these, these these demon rats and people that support them. And, Kofi, thank you. Perfect impersonation. I was trying my best. Jim almost sounds like he wants to blockade Naboo. Oh, I do, you betcha. Damn good, Bernie. Sanders' push for more taxes on billionaires comes as California is actively debating its own wealth tax proposal, including levies on unrealized gain. A plan that has already sent shockwaves through Silicon Valley, as we previously reported. Google founder Larry Page and Sergey Brin ditched California for the business-friendly state of Florida, while Meta founder CEO Mark Zuckerberg did the same, shelling out $150 million for a Miami mansion. Yeah, we have seen how they spend the money, so nope. Even Reid Hoffman, Lincoln co-founder and major demon rat donor and longtime Epstein associate, has broken ranks to call California's billionaire tax a horrendous idea that would accelerate the flight of tech founders and executives from the state. Like, basically, Silicon Valley would be gone. It wouldn't be. There's no reason. Why open a business there when you can do it anywhere? Why would you do it in a place when they're going to just steal your fucking money? Newscomb, who is viewed as a top 2028 candidate in the demon rat circles, says he hates the proposals too. This will be defeated. There's no question in my mind, Newscomb said last month. I'll do what I have to do to protect my state. That's hilarious. You sound just like him. We'll see what Newscomb decides. They should come to Arizona. Progressive lawmakers Bernie Sanders roll counters unveil $4.4 trillion wealth tax targeting billionaires. The proposed legislation targets 938 individuals. I believe it targets them by name. Yeah. Make billionaires pay their fair share act. Yeah. They already pay so much fucking taxes, it's ridiculous. Dem's eye wealth tax for billionaires to fund $3,000 payments. Like these, am I missing something here? I'm referring and replying to your statements. You sound just like Bernie Sanders. Californians are ruining my Texas. I don't know what you're talking about. No, you're talking about Bernie Sanders. I sound like Bernie. You sound just like Bernie. Yeah, I know. I'm doing Bernie Sanders' impression. 77% resorting. Herrera closed the gap to 4 votes. That's fucking fantastic. I have it right here. Let me look. Wow. Yes, I have it right here. Wow. Let's pull this up and show it. That's awesome. This is awesome news. Yes. Texas 23rd Congressional District primary shows Brandon Herrera have advanced to a runoff because they both have Tony Gonzalez has 20,280 and Brandon Herrera has 20,276. 4 points. No, 4 votes. 4 votes, dude. 4 votes, absent mine is right here. 20,280 to 20,276. 4 votes. 4 votes. It's right here. See? 4 votes. 1.01 percentage points. Not 4 points. 4 votes. 4 votes. And it's only 77% of the votes in. I think Brandon's going to take the lead. He's probably not going to hit 50%, but he's definitely going to take the lead. California people are fleeing and coming to Texas, voting like they did in California, turning the state purple. Yeah, it's crazy. It is. It is. It is. It is. It might be points by the end of the count. Who knows? But statistically, neither can hit the threshold to avoid a runoff. Technically 7.5 vote points for it to matter. Yeah. Yeah, he needs to get to 50. So, but whatever. Let's see what else is going on with this. Key updates. Key races, Texas. Senate primary. Cornyn and Paxton basically tied almost a dead heat, which I have to think that these 257,000 people who voted for Wesley Hunt are going to vote for Paxton. They're not going to vote for Cornyn. So, in the runoff. Let's see. Slavey Crockett got slaughtered. Wow. Slaughtered. And then this thing is crazy, man. Kristi Noem was on to Capitol today, and the fucking rhino, Tom Tillis. Cornyn needs to go, yeah. Tony Scandal barely heard him. I don't know. I tried to explain taxing unrealized gains to a liberal, and all they could say is Elon is evil. Yeah. You know, they say envy is one of the 7 deadly sins. Tom Tillis unleashes on Noam. Time after time, I've been disappointed. He was yelling at her like a fucking weirdo. Like, it's crazy what he was screaming at her. Like, I don't get it. I really don't. Like, total rhino, Tillis.
Secretary Noam, because we're not going after enough people who did this damage at the expense of running numbers that Stephen Miller wants out of the White House. We just want numbers. We want 1,000 a day, 6,000 a day, 9,000 a day, because numbers matter, right? No, they don't matter. Quality matters, not quantity, quality. And
no, how's this? Every fucking illegal alien has to be deported. Every single one, you fucking scumbag piece of shit. Get this motherfucker out of office. This is not a Republican. This is a fucking Democrat. Deport them all. They're all illegal aliens. They all have to go. They all have to go, Tillis, you fucking scumbag.
what we've seen is a disaster. Under your leadership, Ms. Noem, a disaster. What we've seen is innocent people getting detained that turn out are American.
Innocent people getting detained that turn out to be American citizens. You mean the innocent people that are attacking fucking ICE agents, you fucking scumbag? That are fucking blocking them, interfering, trying to prevent them from doing their job? They're not innocent. They're breaking federal fucking law, scumbag. This guy going to change parties or something? Because it sure sounds like he's a Democrat. Sure sounds like he's switching parties. That's what it sounds like to me. That's what it sounds like to me.
American citizens. I could talk about the culture that's been created here with Stephen Miller aiding and abetting. I heard first reports that he was the one that said it was a domestic terrorist situation where 2 people lost their lives in Minneapolis.
It was. They were fucking, what you're talking about. The woman tried to run over a fucking, a federal agent. Antifa is domestic terrorism, Tillis. This guy's got to go right now. He's been up to shit. Get into his shit. He's committed crimes. Lock him the fuck up. He is a criminal. Tillis is a criminal. Find it. Put him in jail.
I've heard that report. Maybe you can refute it. I don't know that we'll have time for you to respond because I'm giving you a performance evaluation here. I'm not looking for a response. And I'm saying, Ms. Noem, that time after time after time I've been disappointed.
Yeah. Scumbag Tillis went on a 10-minute tirade criticizing everything from her handling of the deaths of 2 Minnesotans killed or killing her dog in her monologue, garnering applause. Yeah, garnering applause from... Yeah. If you're giving a performance evaluation, Tillis was retiring at the end of the next term, accused Noem of holding up federal emergency funding, violating U.S. citizens' rights, and carrying out immigration enforcement. You know what? Yeah, call him a task, vote him out. He's already retiring because he was going to get primaried. How do I really feel? I can't say how I really feel. But you know what I'm saying. Yeah, his panties are in a wad because he was going to get primaried and ran out of office, so he's retiring. He had a run as a Republican if he wanted to win, especially in North Carolina, with solid red. Yeah. Yeah. And so, but he's not. He's a scumbag. Always has been. He's behind every problem. How did the North Carolina vote go? I don't know. I could look. Let's look. North Carolina. North Carolina. Michael Whatley won the Republican primary to go up against Roy Cooper, the former governor, who the former governor's got some issues because the former governor let the fucking guy, he'll be on a network news show by the end of next year. It's our fault for falling for rhinos. Yeah. Yeah, it is. But here's the thing. Roy Cooper's got problems because he let the guy out of jail that killed Irina Zaritska. He's got to, he's going to have to answer for that. Michael Whatley. I believe he was some RNC something or other. But I don't like the fact that when you look at these numbers, all right, that only 625,000 Republicans voted in the primary. And 800,000 Democrats voted in the primary. It's like, who's stacking these numbers up? What the fuck is going on? Pooper Cooper has to go. Like, what is going on? I watch these numbers in the primaries, and it always makes me go, why are people not voting? What is going on? What is happening? How is it possible? I mean, are the Dems that much more energized that they got like 28% more votes, almost 25% more votes? Did we really not meet the goal? No, we met the goal. We got an extra hour. KBT. I have to, it says we are currently $100 away from the second additional hour. Oops, we did meet the first goal. Sorry. Yeah, we met the first goal. I have to update got 2 minutes and 46 seconds left, and I'll update it for no other hour. So yeah, that's what's going on. RNC Chair Whatley. Yeah. So I don't get how these people win these elections. I really don't. I don't get it. It says, we just want numbers. We want 1,000 days, 6,000 days, 9,000 because numbers matter, right? And he sure hates Stephen Miller for some reason. Is he anti-Semitic because Stephen Miller's Jewish, so he hates him because he's Jewish? I don't know. I honestly had to send out reminders to my North Carolina friends to go vote. I bet I run and no one would vote for me because I'm a sellout, Oreo, etc. Republicans get nervous and vote for the candidate the Dems are comfortable with. It happens all the time. Yeah. We're beginning to get the American people to think that deporting people is wrong. No, it's not, actually. The American people are still widely agree with it. It's all the propaganda and the bullshit and the shit that's going on and the fighting in the courts and the shit that's happening and scumbags like you, Tillis, that are the problem. It's going to prove that Miss Good and Mr. Pretty probably should not have been shot in the face and the back. Oh, it's under investigation. No, Miss Pretty should have been shot. She tried to run over a cop. And the other dude, it seems maybe like it was an accident. I don't know. Law enforcement, we got your back. We got to make it clear that when they make a mistake, they're going to be corrected for it. You don't walk away from it. You've done that too many times, he added. So the Homeland Security Act expressly prohibits the Secretary of Homeland Security from restricting or diverting FEMA resources from the agency's mission. Tullis suggested no one was stalling the investigation into Charlotte's Web, the immigration raid in North Carolina City. I'm expecting answers on Charlotte Webb. Oh, yeah. Stephen Miller is effective. That's why he hates him. Jim, you're in Florida. Would you vote for me? I make Nixon seem like a communist. I would vote for you. I don't care. I go by what people, you know what I mean? Until you know what their track record is, you got to go with what they say. And if they don't do what they say, then you can't vote for them anymore. That's the thing. And so finally, people, all the Democrats applauded him. So that tells you what it's something. I called for your resignation. You talk about killing that dog. It was 14 months ago. I trained dogs, and you're a farmer. You should know better. Oh, my God. What a fucking scumbag. My point is those bad decisions made in the heat of the moment, not unlike what happened in Minneapolis. We're an exceptional nation. One of the reasons. Nome spoke just once during Tillis' time, responding only to confirm that borders are. Tom Homer reports to President Trump. The primary voting rules in North Carolina say you can only vote in the primary you're registered for. That's the scary thing. So that why wouldn't Republicans be voting? Look at these people. This is hope. And GOP's coming to their senses. Oh. I mean, this is just crazy. These people, these people are just horrible. Now, this says, what is this? This wasn't. Oh, yeah. GOP admin live updates. Ex-Dem Governor Roy Cooper wins Senate primary for a chance to flip GOP seat. You think so? Really? Stay up to date with live coverage. Roy Cooper won the Democrat primary and will face off against former National Committee Chair Mike Whatley for a chance to flip retiring Tom Tillis' seat. Earlier in the day, President Trump met with German Chancellor and for bilateral talks. Talked about Operation Epic Fury. Hold on a second. Sorry. MERS was the first European leader to visit Trump after Operation Fury began. They killed the supreme leader. Meanwhile, Homeland Security got grilled by the Senate Judiciary Committee after fatal ICE shootings where she was ripped even by GOP leaders. Well, by one GOP leader. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, and Radcliffe and Dan Kane. General Dan Kane briefed Congress about the Iran attacks. The GOP airs first attack ad on James Talrico showing Dem Texas Senate saying God is non-binary. Video shows a state house lawmaker and Presbyterian seminarian saying God is non-binary. Like, let's audit the voter rolls and see how many speech parties to vote in the primary. Where are we at? We're here, Jacob Castro. Meet James Talrico, Texas non-binary Democrat nominee. He thinks God is non-binary.
God is both masculine and feminine and everything in between. God is non-binary.
Oh. God is nothing. God is everything. You know what I mean? It's not, that's crazy. Operation Epic Fury. Yeah, that's what I said, Epic Fury. Representative Jasmine Slavy Crockett departs watch party, predicts results won't come until Wednesday. She told supporters she's going to leave her own watch party after the Dallas votes were delayed. We need to see Dallas County votes where they're at, she said, accusing the GOP of having specifically targeted Democrat voters. I want you to enjoy yourself. So she's claiming that there was voter fraud going on. So maybe we should get all paper ballots and hand count and stuff like that and get away from all these machines and electronic stuff. She said, I want you to enjoy yourself, but I won't be back tonight because I have no idea when I'm going to get results. I fully anticipate it won't be until tomorrow. NBC News' Steve Kornacki said on his live stream, even if the rest of the vote in Dallas County came in, she would still be well short of here in that margin that Talrico has built. Suspicious driver outside of Paxton's watch party with ammo cartridges was trying to make a delivery, police say. Oh. Forging Freedom TV, what's up? Give me a virtual high fives because I got my sewer fixed. Thank you. Congratulations. Thanks for being here, and congratulations on getting your sewer fixed. A man was detained outside the watch party. This is exactly what God is explicitly binary. In the book of the Bible, God is referred to in the feminine, never referred to as the mother, only the father. In no book of the Bible, yeah. Unfortunately, this is what Republicans do. Wow, Crockett told the crowd. So it's the Republicans' fault. It's the Republicans' fault that the Democrat primary is fucked up. The greatest thing about Slavy Crockett losing her primary. She is an ex-House member January 2nd. Yeah. That is good news. You don't have to deal with her no more. No more. No more. This says DHS defends ad bliss amid Senate scrutiny. Says campaign drove 2.2 million self-deportations and saved taxpayers $39 billion. What's up, Gypsy? Official touts Mount Rushmore campaign success after DHS Secretary Noem's congressional hearings. So yeah, these people are going to complain because they're saying like, you guys spent money on an ad campaign to get people to self-deport. We don't like it.
Let's say you woke up with a sore throat and fever. You can wait to see a doctor, or you can sit in a crowded urgent care, or with the medical.
Exclusive Department of Homeland Security Deputy Assistant Secretary Lauren Biss told Fox News that DHS's international ad campaign prompted more than 2.2 million illegal immigrants to self-deport and saved taxpayers more than $39 billion, pushing back on the demon rat lawmakers who criticized the roughly $200 million initiative during the heated Senate hearing on Tuesday.
I understand it was an advertising campaign, as I understand it, that featured you and you on a horse at Mount Rushmore. The contract was a no-bid contract. You acknowledge that?
I wasn't involved with this contracting process, so my understanding is that there was many companies that competed for this contract.
The answer to that is yes or no.
I don't believe it was. I believe other
Right.
companies competed for this because there was two different vendors that were chosen.
I have here a document from usspending.gov. And this document specifically states the justification for no bid contract that goes to Safe America Media and People Who Think. Those are the two entities that did the campaign, correct?
I believe it is. I wasn't a part of this contracting process.
Let's get
so-
serious here.
Yes.
Okay. Make Safe America was incorporated 11 days or 7 days by my count before they got an award of $143 million. You have any dispute with that?
Are you talking about the subcontractor on that contract? Because we
Safe
have.
America.
Senator, I wasn't a part of this decision.
Okay.
We followed the same processes
Madam
that have
Secretary,
been our policies and
I'll
how
go
these
through
are
this,
just
and then you
conducted
can answer.
appropriately.
So yeah, they're trying to basically. Hold on. During the hearing, Senators Adam Schiff, the pencil neck, Peter Welch, along with John Kennedy, quizzed the Secretary Kristi Noem about the lucrative contract for an ad campaign she was featured in. However, Biz said the campaign filmed in October at Mount Rushmore was well worth the cost and resulted in millions of self-deportations and billions of taxpayer dollars saved. Crockett is going to end up on The View, just watch. I don't think she's going to be able to make it on The View. She can't speak properly. They won't be able to understand her. Yes, her replacement is going to be much, much worse. Sanctuary politicians are attacking this ad campaign because it's been successful in closing our borders and getting more than 2.2 million illegal aliens to leave the United States. The DHS domestic and international ad campaign was the most successful ad campaign in U.S. history. The results speak for themselves. 2.2 million illegal aliens self-deported. And now we have the most secure border in American history. Well, I thought that it was the CBP One app that they reversed to get people out. Yeah, but neither can Whoopi, but they have her on. This added that on average, an arrest and removal by an immigration and customs enforcement costs taxpayers $18,000. Even with the cost of the advertising, the 2,600 exit bonus self-deportations are 70% cheaper than a forced ICE removal. This ad campaign saved the U.S. taxpayer over $39 billion. DHS clarified that not all self-deportees took the exit bonus when they fled the country. At the start of 2023, the net cost of U.S. incurred from illegal immigration was at $150.7 billion. $150.7 billion. And that's a low estimate. They're not factoring in all the stuff, all the fraud. They're not factoring all the fucking money the Somalis stole. That's not in there. Illegal immigration costs each American taxpayer $1,156 per year. with each illegal immigrant costing the U.S. government $8,776 annually. Because they're stealing all our money. They're stealing our money. They're stealing our money. The organization found illegal immigrants paid just under $32 billion in taxes. I don't believe that shit. With the negative economic impact of illegal immigration total $182 billion, showing only to cover 1/6 of the costs they create. According to Barnes, Noam is selling out her office for kickbacks through these no-bid contracts. Is he correct on this one? I don't know. If she is, okay, here's the thing. I don't know. I think they're just attacking the ad because it was successful. I don't know. I mean, maybe she shouldn't have been in the ad. Maybe they probably should have just had a spokesperson or just a no-name employee or an actor or something in the ad. You know, I have absolutely loved the ads coming out of DHS and Homeland Security. Homeland Security must be awesome. $18,000 is cheap for an ad. Homeland Security. No, I think they spent like, you know, millions of dollars on the ad because you have to buy the airtime. You have to buy the airtime to air the ads. That costs a lot of money to buy the airtime. Research showed the negative economic impact of illegal immigration jumped to $35 billion within 5 years, rising to roughly $116 billion in 2017. Oh, what do you know? Welch also questioned Noam during the hearing about accusations the ad contracts were awarded under a declared border emergency, allowing DHS to bypass normal competitive bidding rules. She's nearly Megan Fox hot, though. It's insane not to have her as part of the advertising. Noam told the Senate she was not involved with the contracting process, but her understanding is that there were many companies that competed for the job. I don't believe it was a no-bid contract. I believe other companies competed for this because there were two different vendors that were chosen. Trump has sealed the border. Now Democrats are hell-bent on ending immigration enforcement. Yeah. Welch fired back, alleging DHS awarded $143 million to Safe America Media, which was incorporated 7 days before receiving the contract. Yeah, well, wait a minute. What about, hold on a second. What about the $2 billion that Joe Biden gave to fucking Stacey Abrams for her NGO in Georgia for a thing that she just incorporated and had never done anything before and never got any money? I mean, the fucking money that went out of that Green New Scam deal, the American, the Inflation Reduction Act, which had nothing to do with reducing inflation, was basically a fucking slush fund for them to pay to all fucking Democrats. Every fucking one of the contracts that was awarded to some Democrat power broker, like Stacey Abrams, fucking the bitch that used to be the fucking transportation secretary, Jen Granholm in Michigan. All these people got paid off money. That's the fucking Biden way. Biden was a fucking crook taking kickbacks. I wouldn't be shocked if Biden didn't get money. We got that back from Abrams when we ended USAID. I don't know if we got it all back. I'm just saying that money went out. He then claimed Safe America Media subcontract to a firm where the husband of former DHS spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin worked. Oh. Kennedy was not easy on Christie. Can't figure Dems from rhinos from MAGA. The strategy group has never had a contract with DHS. We had a subcontract with Safe America for limited production services. Safe America paid us $226,000 for 5 film shoots, 45 produced video advertisements, and 6 produced radio advertisements. If you're going to try the strategy group, if you're going to try to question our integrity, bring actual evidence. We did. Senator Kennedy, if you're going to accuse someone of corruption, you better have your facts straight. No, my husband doesn't own Safe America and is not part of it, nor has his company ever had contracts with DHS. In fact, it is clear you aren't even aware who either of the TV ad campaign contractors are. Do your basic homework and research before digging my husband or husband's name through the mud, dragging my husband's name through the mud. Yeah. I mean, this is just crazy. It was grants to her foundation. They didn't get the money, or at least the vast majority of it. In a statement, the strategy group clarified it held a subcontract with Safe America for limited production services. Safe America paid us $226,000 for a total of 5 film shoots, 45 produced video advertisements, and 6 produced radio advertisements. That's actually cheap. McLaughlin, who left DHS last month, blasted Kennedy in a subsequent social media post. If you're going to accuse somebody of corruption, you better have your facts straight. No, my husband doesn't own Safe America and is not part of it. nor has his company ever had a contract with DHS. Do your basic homework. Biden family was getting their money from the Chinese. If you ever get a chance, watch a documentary called Riding the Dragon. Okay. Noam faces heat over $220 million ad that boosted your name recognition. Oh, wait. Hold on a second. Oh, I want to see this. Kennedy. This is going to be Kennedy. I like Kennedy.
I mean, to me, it puts the president in a terribly awkward spot. And I'm not saying you're not telling the truth. It's just hard for me to believe, knowing the president, as I do, that you said, Mr. President, here's some ads I've cut, and I'm going to spend $220 million running them, that he would have agreed to that. I don't think Russ Vogt at OMB would have agreed to that. It's something we have to defend. I'm on the Appropriations Committee. My research shows that you did not bid them out, that you pick, in fact, one of the people you picked, the strategy group, Safe America Media was a company formed 11 days before you picked them, and that the strategy group got most of the money, and the head of that is married to your former spokesperson.
Sir, the president tasked me with getting the message out to the country and to other countries where we were seeing the invasion come from, with putting commercials out that told them that if they were in this country illegally, that they needed to leave, or we would detain them and remove them, and they'd not get the chance to come back to America the right way. That has been extremely effective.
Yeah, I don't. He got his facts wrong, because that's clear. Unless those people are lying, if they only got $226,000 out of all the money, then it doesn't seem to me like they could have possibly, Senator John Kennedy. Why is this doing this to me now? Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem on Tuesday was met with skepticism from Senator Kennedy, who argued during a hearing that more than $200 million ad campaign was primarily effective in your name recognition. The Department of Homeland Security last February announced that the ad campaign, which featured Noem telling migrants to go home or face deportation, a firm with ties to Noem and her former spokesman received the contract, which was awarded after skirting the competitive bidding process. This is not true. The firm did not. That's tied, unless the firm is somehow owned by. The firm that got the contract is not Strategies Group. Strategies Group was a subcontractor hired by them. Exchange Tuesday marked unusual pushback from a member of the president's party against the spending of the cabinet official, with Kennedy suggesting the video was done to promote Noem rather than a Trump agenda and put the president in a terrible, awkward position. The president approved ahead of time of you spending $220 million running TV ads across the country in which you featured prominently. Noem told the audience last year's Conservative Political Action Conference that President Trump had asked her to craft the ad to thank him for his work at the border. He said, "I want the first ad. I want you to thank me. I want you to thank me for closing the border, and I want you to thank." To me, this puts the president in a terribly awkward spot. I'm not saying you're not telling the truth. It's just hard for me to believe, knowing the president as I do, that he said, "Mr. President, I've cut some ads. I'm going to spend $220 million running them," and they would agree to it. DHS invoked a national emergency at the time, which allowed them to avoid competitive bidding. The strategy group was involved with Noem's 2022 gubernatorial race, and company CEO is married to former DHS spokesman Tricia McLaughlin. Corey Lewandowski, a top advisor at DHS, has also previously worked with the firm. The strategy group got the money after a contract was initially awarded to Safe America Media, a firm formed just days prior. Subcontractors did not have to be disclosed. The strategy group later wrote on X it received $226,000 total for 5 video shoots. The president tasked me with getting the message out, and that's what we did. So it's been successful. It was the assertion that prompted Kennedy to say the ads were effective in boosting your own name recognition. We all have friends who are qualified. I'm not quibbling with that. It troubles me that a fifth to $250 million of taxpayer money, we're scratching for every penny, and we're fighting over rescission packages I can't agree with Madam Secretary. No one considered that others at DHS oversaw the bidding process and followed all the requirements. I did not have anything to do with picking those contractors. Oh, I haven't heard of Corey's been. I remember him and Bonnie coming out looking tough. Yeah. I don't know where Corey Lewandowski is. Tell Nancy Pelosi to surrender her ill-gotten gains from her portfolio. I'm not going to worry about some ad that were highly effective. I saw the ones about self-deportation. 226,000. Yeah, he said $250 million, but that says 226,000. I think somebody might have, either somebody's lying about the numbers or somebody misplaced a decimal point. Like seriously misplaced a decimal point, like 3 places or something. Something is, instead of 226,000, they think it's 226 million. Like the subcontractor, okay, that filmed the ad spots and that cut the videos and stuff like that would not get the bulk of the money. The bulk of the money goes to the buying the ad time, and that's where all the profit is made by the people. Hold on 1 second. I got to grab another drink. It's right here, so it's only going to be 1 second. A decimal and ganked. I don't know, man. That's what's not making sense. This one group, like the numbers are going to be there, So we'll see what happens with this, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I don't trust anybody. Every politician I think are up to no good, but I don't trust the media either to lie. And somebody in the media obviously gave these numbers to somebody, Yeah, Corey was around Trump's first term. Yeah, he was the guy. Corey was supposedly the guy who was behind Trump winning. Was his campaign manager? I thought first term. I believe. So. And what is this? Why is it? Columbia University anti-Israel group posts death to America after U.S. and Israeli kill Khomeini. Damn it. I hate that it does this. Then I have to make it smaller again to close this out. And I have to make it bigger again, and then it's going to screw me up. What the fuck is going on now? Yeah, Columbia University posts anti-Israel group posts death to America after U.S. and Israel killed Khomeini. Columbia University's biggest anti-Israel group, which notoriously organized last year's on-campus encampment. So that's the guy, Mahmoud Khalil. That's his group. Mahmoud Khalil, the guy that they're trying to deport, and then judges are saying no. That's what's troubling, is if, in fact, there's almost 219.74 missing. Now that money probably got spent on buying all the airtime, like to air an ad, okay? To air an ad, like to run, like not like did they run some of those ads during like the Super Bowl and stuff like that? Like those are super expensive, like millions of dollars for just one ad to run. But other times to run the ads like just regular ads are still millions and millions of dollars to buy the airtime. And if you're running them on stations all over the country, like a national ad campaign is multiple millions of dollars. Where was all this congressional oversight when we were paying for illegals to stay in fancy hotels? Yeah. What about that? Seems kind of like what's going on there. So their biggest group, yeah, they posted death to America in Persian after the strike that killed the leader Khomeini. The words are translated of Farsi phrase. The post was removed by X, but the organization, which is not recognized by the Ivy League school, doubled down. X forces to lead our Marg Barak retreat, but in order to gain back access to our account, the sentiment still stands. Columbia University responded to the troubling postal statement saying that CUOD is not affiliated in any way with the university. There is no evidence that anyone currently in control of their account is current Columbia student, staff, or faculty member. They are illegally using the Columbia name, the New York City school said. Oh, sure they are. They're illegally using the Columbia name. They're among the student protest groups that received praise from Khomeini, who was killed Saturday airstrikes, for being an integral part of anti-Israel resistance in the U.S. You have now formed a branch of resistance front and begun an honorable struggle. Oh, so these people are probably getting paid from them. Who knows? How many of these people that work for this Kuwait, like, what's his face? Like Khalil, are they working with Iran? Are they really fucking sleepers that are here? You have now formed a branch of the resistance front and begun an honorable struggle in the face of your government's ruthless pressure, which openly supports the Zionists. The 86-year-old leader wrote in his 2024 as protests spread across U.S. campuses against Israel's military actions in Gaza, according to the Jewish News Syndicate. The Jewish News Syndicate. What the fuck is that? The people's conscience has awakened on a global scale. Yeah. The U.S. and Israeli attack on Saturday morning U.S. and Israel attacked Iran on Saturday morning. In addition to Khamenei, Iran's ex-president Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, who had previously called for the extermination of Israel and was under house arrest for an attempted coup weeks ago, was also killed. An attempted coup. Ahmadinejad tried a coup. Israel also said it killed 40 top Iranian military officials, including commander of the Revolutionary Guard and the defense minister. It's crazy. Israel bombs Iran's top mullahs as they count votes for the next supreme leader. Yes.
ساختمان خبرگان میدون رسالت همین 2-3 دقیقه پیش ساختمان خبرگان میدون رسالت همین 2-3 دقیقه پیش
But I'm told by a senior Israeli official that the Israelis just struck the Supreme Council gathering where the Iranians were meeting to choose a new supreme leader. This is a significant development and again speaks to the Israeli intelligence about this war. They just targeted the meeting in Tehran where what's left of the leadership was gathering to choose a new supreme leader.
سمت غرب رو زد سمت جنت آباد رو زد فکر کنم.
Wow. That's pretty crazy, isn't it? So did they kill all the 80 top clerics? Because that's serious. You can bet your ass there's some Colombian professors involved in this. Oh, yes, there are. There's Colombian professors. There's professors at every one of these colleges involved with all this shit. Just like there's teachers at all the high schools that are getting the students to go out and protest ICE. The faculty isn't involved because the faculty are all fucking Marxists. Yeah, they're creating jobs around the world. Yeah, Trump just created 80 new spots for top clerics in Iran. Black smoke after a missile strike means they elected a new Ayatollah. Okay, cool, Raul. Wow. So this says the Israeli Air Force struck a top Iranian meeting on Wednesday where Tehran's senior clerics had gathered to select a replacement for the slain supreme leader Aliyah Khamenei. Hey, what's up, B-Hops? Great to see you. Nixie Nix, good to see you too. The Assembly of Experts, a body made up of 88 members. 88 members? You think it's a coincidence that they have 88 members? What does 88 stand for? Heil Hitler? You think it's a coincidence? Huh? That they have Heil Hitler experts? Yes. Ali Oxenfree. Yeah. The Assembly of Experts. 88 experts. 88. 88. Look that number up. Heil Hitler. It's a forbidden number. They just have 88 Heil Hitler experts. There are fascists, communists, Marxists, tyrannicals. They were gathered together in the city of Qom when an airstrike hit the building overnight. The strike came just as the mullahs were counting the votes to appoint the next supreme leader, according to Fox News. Same as Back to the Future. Yeah, 88 miles an hour. Yes, Back to the Future was telling you that someone was going to go back to the future in the past to kill Hitler, baby Hitler. That was the secret. Yes, the Iranian Assembly of Experts just got disassembled. They used a discombobulator on that building. Following the attack, Iran's semi-official Mehr news agency claimed that the building was an old structure that was no longer used by the assembly for its meetings. Hours after the strike occurred, the assembly allegedly named Khomeini's son, Mojtaba Khomeini, 56, as his successor. Oh, so they named his son, so almost like a, so it's like a, it's not really, it's like a dynasty then, like a family dynasty. Mojtaba was notably among the 40 top lieutenants targeted during the first 48 hours of the war, with conflicting reports on whether or not he survived. Michael Goodwin says the war on Iran was never a choice. Trump was left with no option but defend America and all Western civilization. Mojtaba was known for staunch adherence to his father's hardline conservatism. See, this is what they do. They're saying hardline conservatism. It's not conservatism. That's what they try to do. That's why whenever there's a terrorist attack, they label it as right wing. That's what all these places do. The SPLC, all these fucking places, they say like, oh, that's why they say all the terror attack comes from the right, because they declare that all the Islamic terror is from the right because they're conservative Muslims. It remains unclear how many members of the assembly, if any, were inside the building and casting a ballot when the building was hit. Hopefully all of them. Viral images from the Qom allegedly show the building that housed the Iranian leaders, with the structure left in complete ruins. The bombing ultimately left the building flattened, but no injuries or deaths have been reported as of the strike. Iran's leadership was plunged into chaos following Khomeini's death on Saturday, with the country's constitution tasking the Assembly of Experts to name a new successor. What did he say? Yeah, that's how the Shiites do it. The Shiites do it. They more closely related to Mahmoud. The higher your rank in mud slime. The Sunnis don't care about bloodline, really. Yeah, they plan to do it by Skype next time. Yeah, I don't trust much of that stuff. Read but don't believe. It's not new. Yeah. While there's no strict deadline for a successor to be chosen, the Iranian constitution dictates the assembly act in the shortest time possible. Latest strikes on Iran by U.S. forces in Iranian retaliation. British and France dispatched warships to Cyprus as the United States closes 3 Mideast embassies following Iran strikes on Tehran and Beirut. Israel strikes on Tehran and Beirut. Okay. We saw this the other day. I don't know. The assembly said that choosing a successor for Khamenei won't take long. It won't take long. We already know who it's going to be because we were told that's who it must be. The clerical body, however, could opt to delay naming a successor out of fears it would be immediately targeted. The Assembly of Experts itself is made up of publicly elected clerics who have been vetted by Iran's Guardian Council. Very communistic. Guardian Council, they get to pick this. Everything's by committee. That's communism. Until the assembly can hold an election, Iran will be run by a temporary three-man council composed of President Mahmoud Pezeshkian, Chief Judiciary Chief Gholam Hossein, Mojeh Ajeh, and Ayatollah Arazi Aref, who serves as a Guardian Council representative. I thought Ayatollah Aref was already killed. Ali Laraji, the Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, and Mahmoud Badir Kalibaf, the parliament speaker, who has capped speeches off with chants of death to America, are believed to be among the favorites to succeed Khomeini. The strike came just as Israeli Air Forces deployed around 100 jets to drop more than 250 bombs on a leadership complex located north of Qom. The attack targeted Tehran's presidential bureau, the headquarters of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, and compounds used by Iran's leadership and military. The leadership complex of the terror regime is one of the most secured assets in Iran and spans many streets in the heart of Tehran. The leadership and security officials of the terror regime convened in the compound frequently, and from there conducted, among other things, situation assessments regarding the Iranian nuclear program and the advancement of a plan to destroy the state of Israel. Along with Khamenei, U.S. officials estimate that at least 47 other Iranian leaders were killed during the first 48 hours of the war. The U.S. has hit about 1,700 targets in the first 72 hours of war, according to U.S. Central Command. Israel, meanwhile, has dropped some 4,000 bombs on Iran as of Tuesday night. The attacks have sparked mass retaliations across the region, with Iran and its proxies firing missiles and drones against American troops and U.S. allies. So you can vote for the Death to America guy or the other Death to America guy. Got it. Yeah. Which one of them really means it? Iran's latest assault struck the U.S. consulate building in Dubai, where the United Arab Emirates authorities worked fast to put out a fire. Iran has also fired drones at the U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia, which triggered a limited fire as well. At least 6 American troops have been killed during the war after an Iranian drone struck them at a U.S. military base in Kuwait, and with 18 others seriously injured. Like, I honestly can't believe that we did not have the shit ready in Kuwait to keep this from happening. Like, what the fuck was going on that you did not have Patriot batteries or something in Kuwait to keep this from happening? U.S. State Department is ordering the and I know sometimes you can get leakers that leak through. I know that can happen. So maybe they did. Maybe there was a bunch. But I thought they weren't shooting a whole, like a crazy amount. I thought they only shot like 300 total that I've heard. So U.S. State Department is ordering the evacuation of non-emergency personnel and families across several Middle Eastern cities, including Kuwait, Bahrain, Iraq, Qatar, Jordan, and UAE. Hopefully they set up another meeting. The snake has many heads. Yeah. I wonder how NATO plans to make themselves relevant in this operation. Offer to occupy after fighting is done. Kuwait is like a staging area. Yeah, but we should have defenses there for the staging area. We did. It was ineffective. It was ineffective. It was luck, and the target hit was soft. This is what's stupid to me. I did read a certain thing, and what it said about death. Even if this place is only temporary, there is no rush. Yeah. As the war continues to heat up, President Trump is allegedly speaking with Kurdish leaders in Iraq about the conflict and what might come next. Iraq Kurds have close ties to the Kurdish minority in Iran, and prior to the war, some of its members formed a Kurdish-Iranian opposition group to fight in Iran. U.S. officials have not publicly disclosed Trump's call with the Kurds, who have had close military ties with Israel. Ozempic neck is a huge problem in Washington, in Hollywood. Wait, this is the same story. Why did I have the same story? Sorry, I'm opening a few more links. Sorry, I was opening a couple more links. $5 says the terrible chicken chain is Popeyes. Could be. Breaking U.S. consulate in Dubai on fire after Iranian drone strike. Video. U.S. consulate in Dubai is on fire after it was hit by an Iranian drone on Tuesday. According to reports, the consulate was evacuated before the drone strike.
In Dubai, apparently hit by a suspected Iranian drone. You can see a plume of smoke in the background and people in the foreground taking video and expressing alarm over it. David, to something you said about how these Gulf nations will have to endure, there is the question of how much endurance they have, their capacity for doing that. Do they have the ear of the president in the sense that if they go to the United States and they say, we can't do this anymore, would he listen? Would it change the U.S.'s approach?
Well, look, the U.S. is their major patron. 8 months ago, what were we discussing with the UAE? How many days?
Oh, they cut it off. So, all right. Whatever. We understand the building and many surrounding buildings have been fully or partially evacuated. Fox News is also reporting the fire is under control.
The British have a consulate down there as well. A couple of years ago, I was in Dubai.
Walmart deli chicken.
That whole area. I mean,
Publix chicken is
that
phenomenal.
Is an area
Seriously,
deep
Publix
in the
fried
heart
chicken,
of Dubai.
phenomenal.
And again, it's the old city, so that is a very prestigious location. For the Iranians to send a drone into that area, I mean, that's very brazen, and that's got to provoke a response from the Emirates.
Absolutely. And there were some satellite images circulating earlier this week that showed when the Iranians started to attack the UAE, the plumes of black smoke rising from cities like Dubai, right next to the Palm Island, this man-made island chain, were so large they were picked up on satellite images. And again, it gives you a sense, anyone who's ever been to Dubai, this is a very advanced city, modern infrastructure, very tall hotels and buildings. And the fact that these Iranian drones are now soaring through the skies of Dubai and Abu Dhabi and other areas within the Gulf, it indicates that the Iranians are going after A, civilian infrastructure, but B, infrastructure that's never seen war since it's been built. I mean, the Israelis are used to sheltering in place. They're used to this fire toward population centers. These Gulf cities and countries are not.
Trey Yingst joining us with the breaking news out of Tel Aviv. Trey, thank you very much. We'll see you again shortly.
Secretary of State Rubio addressed the drone strike on the U.S. consulate in Dubai. The latest update I had seconds before getting into cameras was that a drone unfortunately struck a parking lot adjacent to the Chancellery building that set a fire off. All personnel are accounted for. Our embassies and our diplomatic facilities are under direct attack from terrorist regime, Rubio added. Okay, so here's Rubio.
As I came in, I also saw the media reports about Dubai's consulate. The last update I had with seconds before getting before these cameras was that a drone unfortunately struck a parking lot adjacent to the Chancellery building and then set off a fire in that place. All personnel are accounted for. As you're aware, we began drawing down personnel from our diplomatic facilities in advance of this. In the cases, for example, of Beirut, we basically drew down to bare bones, as well as in Baghdad and in Erbil and in a couple other posts as well. So we've been very fortunate, obviously, but our embassies and our diplomatic facilities are under direct attack from a terroristic regime.
Yep, direct attack from a terroristic regime. At least 2 Iranian drones struck the U.S. Embassy in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on Tuesday evening. No injuries were reported. Per Fox News, the U.S. Embassy in Riyadh was empty. More information is coming. Dubai confirms U.S. consulate was struck by drone, no injuries. Conflict broke out. Dubai authorities confirmed that fire resulting from a drone-related incident near the consulate has been successfully contained. Dubai authorities affirmed their commitment to ensuring everyone's safety and security. Rubio confirms no injuries after consulate grounds hit in Dubai, says U.S. about to unleash Chiang on Iran, whatever that means. What is Chiang? Drone, unfortunately. I don't know. The attack follows a series of drones. Rubio and other top officials, including the Defense Secretary, Secretary of War, we've been fortunate. Our embassies and diplomatic facilities are under direct attack from a terrorist regime. You're about to see we unleash Chiang on the people for the next few hours and days. You will see perceived change in the scope and intensity of these attacks.
It is very important, and I ask this of the networks as well. It is important for you to please put both the website and the phone numbers on your screens, because we need to know where you are. We need to have contact information for Americans that need assistance. They have to register with us, because as these options begin to open up, and as they open up, we have to be able to call you, we have to be able to reach you, we have to be able to know where you're staying so we can get this information to you and coordinate appropriately. And it'll be a variety of methods: charter flights, military flights and transports, expanded commercial opportunities, and in some cases land routes that will allow them to go to neighboring countries who might have open airports at that point. So it's a lot of different things here that need to happen in order to move people, but it all starts by knowing that you're there. It all starts by knowing that where you are and how we can get a hold of you. So I'm asking the networks and all of the media outlets, please publicize the 2 phone numbers that we've put out, as well as the website, so people can contact us and register. We've had, thousands of people call already. As I said, we've identified almost 1,600 that are requesting assistance with departure, but we need you to please be able to identify that. As I came in, I also saw the media reports about Dubai's consulate. The last update I had with seconds before getting before these cameras was that a drone unfortunately struck a parking lot adjacent to the Chancellery building and then set off a fire in that place. All personnel are accounted for. As you're aware, we began drawing down personnel from our diplomatic facilities in advance of this. In the cases, for example, of Beirut, we basically drew down to bare bones, as well as in Baghdad and in Erbil and in a couple other posts as well. So we've been very fortunate, obviously, but our embassies and our diplomatic facilities are under direct attack from a terroristic regime. With an update, I will obviously refer you to the Department of War. Suffice it to say that our objectives remain as they've been identified from the beginning and by the President laid out clearly yesterday. Iran can never have a nuclear weapon, and we will now not allow Iran to hide behind the immunity of a massive short-term ballistic missile inventory or the ability to make them or launch them. And so CENTCOM, in a joint operations, is carrying out a systematic destruction of their missile belt, destruction of their launchers, and destruction of their ability to make these, as well as the destruction of their Navy. From what I've been told by the Department of War, everything is on or ahead of schedule and proceeding on these objectives. We have every confidence in the world that these objectives will be achieved. The last point I would make is, and I said this yesterday and I repeat, what's about to, you're about to see, we're going to unleash Chang on these people in the next few hours and days. You're going to really begin to perceive a change in the scope and in the intensity of these attacks as, frankly, the two most powerful air forces in the world take apart this terroristic regime and defang it and take away its ability to threaten its neighbors or hide behind a zone of immunity that allows them to develop their nuclear ambitions. This terroristic, radical, cleric-led regime cannot be ever allowed to have nuclear weapons. We saw what they were willing to do to their own people. They were willing to slaughter their own people in the streets. Imagine what they would do to us. Imagine what they would do to others. Under President Trump, that will never, ever happen. All right?
Yesterday you said, yesterday you talked about Israel. Mr. Secretary.
Please, guys, I can't hear them all. Yes.
Yesterday you told us that Israel was going to strike Iran and that's why we needed to get involved. Today the president said that Iran was going to get.
Yeah, your statement is false. So that's not what I was asked very specifically. Were you there yesterday?
Yes, I asked you a question.
No, were you the one that, because somebody asked me a question yesterday, did we go in because of Israel? And I said, you were asking me that follow-up. And I said, no. I told you this had to happen anyway. The president made a decision, and the decision he made was that Iran was not going to be allowed to hide behind its ballistic missile program, that Iran was not going to be allowed to hide behind its ability to conduct these attacks. That decision had been made. The president systematically made a decision to systematically destroy this terroristic capability that they had, and we carried that out. I was very clear in that answer.
Did you see that guy try to push past Rubio's security saying, I'm trying to go over there? They're like, are you fucking nuts, dude? Get away, go away. You can't come sneaking past the fucking Secretary of State like that. What is wrong with you, dude? Like, we're in open hostilities and this guy's like trying to push through the security. That's this woman and the guy behind him are both security. You could tell by the way they're looking around. They're like a security detail, which I'm a little nervous about DEI with that woman being a security detail. I don't know. I don't know.
This was a question of timing, of why this had to happen as a joint operation, not the question of the intent. Once the president made a decision that negotiations were not going to work, that they were playing us on the negotiations, and that this was a threat that was untenable, the decision was made to strike them. That's what I said yesterday, and you guys need to play it. And if you're going to play these statements, you need to play the whole statement, not clip it to reach a narrative that you want to do, all right?
This is your statement. This is your statement.
Go ahead.
Yes.
I mean, Congress votes on those. They can if they want. There's mechanisms for it. We've complied with the War Powers Act, even though we believe it's unconstitutional, as has every other administration. Every other president has found the War Powers Act to be unconstitutional. Nonetheless, we notified Gang of Eight, which was an appropriate mechanism by which to notify Congress. We sent the notification within 48 hours, the way the law requires. I'm here today to have, I don't know, my 6th or 7th briefing before the entirety of the House and Senate, which is far more than I ever got from any administration in the time that I was here, certainly when I was a member of the Gang of Eight. And so we've over-complied with the law and what it requires. This is an action by the president to address a real threat, This is hostilities designed to eliminate a threat to the safety and the security of the United States and to our allies.
Mr. Secretary,
was there a plan in place to evacuate Americans before the attack took place?
Well, that's the plan we're trying to carry out. The problem is, or the challenge we are facing, is airspace closures. If a country closes their airport, for example, in some cases the airports have been hit. So the airport in Kuwait was hit. So if an airport's been attacked or the airspace is closed, then we can have the planes lined up to go, but we can't get them to land because we don't have the permissions to land there. So that's the challenge, but rest assured, we are confident that we are going to be able to assist every American. As I told you right now, we have about a little over 1,500, maybe closer to 1,600 Americans requesting assistance, and we know that we're going to be able to help them. It's going to take a little time because we don't control the airspace closures. That said, there may be more people out there that need help. We need to know who you are. So please, I'm asking the media, publicize the phone numbers and the website, because we need people to call in so we have their name, we have their contact information, we have their location and their request. So as these opportunities begin to open up, we can act very quickly to reach them and get them out of harm's way.
I want to just clarify what you said. Because you said
there's nothing to clarify.
Well, but you said I would give that.
No, but you have to read. If you're going to read the whole statement.
But your quote is about, we knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that would precipitate an attack.
Yeah, I know, I understand. But listen, all right, let me understand.
And that's what.
Yeah, but I had a very specific question from that gentleman, right?
The president said.
Hold on one second. I asked a very.
Israelis.
Okay, but let me answer, because this is my press conference.
Okay.
You asked me. I was asked a very specific question. So you guys can misrepresent it, but I was asked a very specific question yesterday. The bottom line is this. The president determined we were not going to get hit first. It's that simple, guys. We are not going to put Americans' troops in harm's way. If you tell the president of the United States that if we don't go first, we're going to have more people killed and more people injured, the president's going to go first. That's what he did. That's what the president will always do. He will always put the safety and security of our men and women in uniform and of all Americans before anything else. He's always going to do that, and that's what he did here. In addition to that, I would argue that this threat from Iran, they are hiding behind these missiles and hiding behind these drones. They wanted to reach a point where you couldn't touch them, and then they could do whatever the hell they wanted with their nuclear program. And there is no way in the world that this terroristic regime was going to get nuclear weapons, not under Donald Trump's watch.
So the U.S. attack
has
nothing to do with Israel. It has nothing to do with Israel.
Go ahead.
This operation, though, there's a general question of why the president gave the green light, and then there's a question of why did it have to happen this weekend? Are you saying it had to happen this weekend because of that Israeli action?
No, this weekend presented a unique opportunity to take joint action against this threat. And we wanted this to have maximum success. We want this operation to be successful at achieving its objectives. I'll repeat the objectives. The president laid them out yesterday. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. It cannot have, and therefore it cannot have the things it was hiding behind to have a nuclear weapons program. What are those things? Number one, we are going to destroy their missiles and their missile launchers. We are going to destroy their capability to make these missiles and these launchers, and we are going to destroy their Navy. Those are the objectives, and this weekend, acting at this time, gave us the highest probability of success in achieving those objectives, and as the Department of War will brief you, we are on or ahead of schedule to do that.
So the U.S. attack would have happened no matter what? Or the U.S. attack happened no matter what Israel is planning to do?
The House said Israel was going to act with or without.
The president had already made a decision to act on the timing. The president acted on the timing that gave us the highest chance of success. And that's what you're seeing play out right now. You're seeing it play out right now, and you'll see it in the days to come. We will systematically take apart their missile program. We will destroy their ability to sponsor terrorism, by the way. We will destroy their factories. We will destroy their Navy. Those objectives are going to be met. We're well on our way to meeting them. It will not be easy. There will be a price to pay for it, but that is a much lower price to pay than having a nuclear-armed Iran. I got to go brief these guys. Hold on. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
How heavily is the administration leaning into the 2001 AU that justification of these strikes?
The what now?
How heavily is the administration?
Well, that's not our notification to Congress. Our notification, listen, let me explain to you guys this in simple English. Okay? Iran is run by lunatics, religious fanatic lunatics. They have an ambition to have nuclear weapons. They intend to develop those nuclear weapons behind a program of missiles and drones and terrorism that the world will not be able to touch them for fear of those things. And this is the weakest they've ever been. Now is the time to go after them. The president made the decision to go after them, take away their missiles, take away their Navy, take away their drones, take away their ability to make those things so that they can never have a nuclear weapon. That's why the president made this decision. It was the right decision, and the world will be a safer place when these radical clerics no longer have access to these weapons. You see how they're using them now. Imagine how they would use them a year from now if they had more of these. All right, I got time for one more. Yeah, go ahead.
Yesterday, several Democrats criticized what you said.
Yeah, of course they could have. The question is, several Democrats criticize. They're going to always.
All right, he's got a couple more security. I see this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. Okay, so he's got more security around him that I see now. This guy with the trench coat on. So who knows? Maybe those are Secret Service. Maybe she's just a State Department, wherever she's at, or something like that. So maybe that's not like he is prepared. Yes, he is.
We've been doing this for years, guys. They come out. I'll tell you right now, they're going to come out after the briefing and say we didn't hear anything. We have more questions than answers. You mark my words. But we still do these briefings. Go ahead.
So, Mr. Secretary, their criticism was on the timeline. They said that Israel is dictating the timeline for the United States.
No, the president.
As you know, several people on the right have also agreed with that. How would you respond to
Well,
that?
the United States made a decision. Under the President of the United States made a decision. This is intolerable. Iran cannot have these missiles, cannot have these drones, cannot threaten the world. The President said this is the weakest they've ever been. If we don't hit them now, a year from now, a year and a half from now, no one will be able to touch them, and they'll be able to do.
They use MP7s now. They don't use MP4s. They use MP7s or MP5s. I'm sorry. They use MP7s now. They shoot the 4.6 millimeter that penetrates body armor. It's like a special HK developed round. It's a lot smaller, shoots a lot faster, and has a lot flatter trajectory. So MP7s, which you can't get unless you're the only people you can't even buy an MP7 a civilian in the U.S. because they don't make ones that aren't select fire.
Whatever they want. And he made a decision to go. And he made a decision to go in a joint operation because it gave us the highest chance of success. And he made the decision to go first because he concluded that we were not going to get hit first. We were not going to absorb a blow from them. We were going to go first. He was not going to run the risk that they could attack us before we could hit them because in addition to costing lives, it would undermine the effectiveness of our operation. All right, guys, I got to go. Thank you.
Gotta go. Oh, here's Chuck Schumer.
Doesn't seem to know what it's doing. Every hour there's a different rationale as to why we're doing this. And America wants this president to pay attention to the problems at home, not the problems overseas, particularly when no one has any idea of what the real rationale is.
Oh my God! Listen to this fucking guy, Chuck Scummer. Wow, salute. This jerk. It's Iran, not Iraq. Yeah, you know that's great. It's easy. So let's look at this real quick. I got this. Let's pull this up here. Look at this. So we got this is the current numbers. It's John Cornyn is right now only about 22,000 votes ahead of Ken Paxton. That's gonna go to a runoff. All right, but Wesley Hunt got almost 3. So like it's getting close right there, 864 to 842. And there's what does that say? 88%, 88%. What the fuck is going on with this number 88 tonight? What the fuck is going on with this tonight? What's it say? Truth? MP7? I don't know what that's supposed to, what's the truth mean? This man needs to be medicated, yeah. Oh, look, it's Senator Hunchback Moobs. Yeah, that's him. And then let's look this up. I want to go like this. Paxton, margin. All right, now let's do this. So, I want to look at other key races. The Democrat primary, wow. Wait, where's it at? I want to look at the other races. Texas. U.S. House. Toth, it says beat Cranshaw with 88% of votes in. It says 9th District's going to be in a runoff between a Latina Army veteran who's endorsed by President Trump and newly conservative district are Briscoe Kane. So these are the new districts. Another runoff. Here it is, Brandon Herrera, district primary. So Herrera is winning by, oh man, almost 1,000 votes now. Too bad. See, like, man, it would be nice if somehow Herrera could get over 50% and just win. You know, but he's beating him. I can't remember. Does anyone remember last time? Let's go, Brandon. That's right. The 88 thing is strange. It is. It keeps popping up, right? Can I get a raw burger with fries? Yeah, Chuck Schumer. And put cheese on it because that's really kosher. Question, like, does anyone remember, was there a runoff last time between Brandon Herrera and Tony Gonzalez? And that he lost? Because I know Brandon only lost by like a very small number of votes last time. I can't remember if there was a runoff last time or not. Maybe there wasn't a runoff. I don't know. I think there was a runoff last time for some reason because I know that they said it was very tight. Yes, there was a runoff last time, and he only okay. That's what I thought. Well, let's hope he wins this time. I like Brandon Herrera. I do. I don't know. The AK guy. Brandon lost the runoff last time. All right. Well, he needs to win it this time. People got to get out there and vote for Brandon Herrera. We need somebody in Congress that actually really believes in the Second Amendment like Brandon Herrera. We really do. It's important. It's an important thing to do. All right, let's do this. So this news story says a trial seeks to tie the Iranian paramilitary to alleged assassination plot in the U.S. Oh, look, I bet you they classified him as white, too. The image provided by the Justice Department shows Asif merchant. While U.S. fights a widening war in Iran, American prosecutors are airing claims that Iran's paramilitary Revolutionary Guard was entangled in a foiled 2024 assassination plot that eyed then-candidate Donald Trump as a target. The alleged scheme is the center of a criminal trial that started in a federal court in New York last week, days before the Mideast combat that now looms in the background. This trial is happening at an interesting time, Judge Eric Kamate told lawyers this week. A Pakistani national accused of trying to hire a hitman to kill a U.S. politician. Merchant did not name the target, but searched online for Trump rally locations. According to prosecutors who introduced evidence Tuesday that Merchant's laptop contained photos of Trump and then President Joe Biden at a time when they were rivals for the presidency. The FBI agent testified Tuesday that Merchant told her he had a Revolutionary Guard handler and believed the handler would help bankroll the plan. Merchant's lawyer suggested the purported statements might not be accurate. Merchant, 47, has pleaded not guilty to attempted terrorism and other charges. His attorney says prosecutors are trying to wedge evidence into a narrative that doesn't fit. Oh, of course, that's what they always say. Merchant's ties to Iran. Merchant has children in Iran, has traveled there. His lawyers have portrayed his trips as religious pilgrimages and family time. Federal authorities have long suggested that he has ties to Iran's theocratic government. While Merchant was indicted in 2024, then FBI Director Chris Wray said the case was straight out of the Iranian regime's playbook. Then Attorney General Merrick Garland portrayed it as an example of Iran's lethal plot against Americans. And Tuesday, an FBI agent opened a window through a narrow, constrained one on the government's basis for pointing the finger at Tehran. It stems from Merchant allegedly told agents in a 2024 interview the session wasn't recorded and the agent's report on it is sealed. Only a few questions about it were allowed in court. According to the agent, Jacqueline Smith, Merchant said one of his cousins introduced him to a Revolutionary Guard handler at some point in Iran, formerly called the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The force has been prominent in Iran under the country's late supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who was killed in the strikes this weekend. U.S. deems the Revolutionary Guard a foreign terrorist organization. Merchant said he expected his handler would reimburse $5,000 that Merchant had gotten from his cousin and had given him to the supposed hitmen, who were actually undercover FBI agents. She said Merchant was relaying some advice from the handler. If he noticed he was being surveilled, he should act normal. Defense lawyer Avram Moskowitz underscored that the interview wasn't recorded, and he described the agent's report as someone's impression of what he said. Moskowitz. Avraham Moskowitz. Wow. So this Iranian hired a Jewish defense lawyer. Isn't that like a little on the nose? The Iranian terrorist hires a Jewish defense lawyer, Avraham Moskowitz. I disagree with your characterization, Smith said, but acknowledged the sealed document wasn't a verbatim account. The interview was what's known as a proffer session, generally a time when defendants or suspects and their lawyers explore the possibility of cooperating with authorities. Moskowitz noticed while jurors weren't in the room, the proffer can produce a mix of things that may be true or other things that are said that may not be true. Joe is sleeping and missing this. Yeah, it's crazy, right? Joe. While getting only a glimpse of the interview, jurors have seen and heard recordings of Merchant interacting with undercover FBI agents with an acquaintance who flagged him to the agency in the first place. Recording talking about the killing. In June 2024, recording that was played in court this week, Merchant told the undercover agents that he and his associates in Pakistan were looking for people to steal documents, create protests at political events, and the last thing, maybe you can kill someone. The third thing he wanted, that could be a big deal, one of the agents observed, he dangled the possibility he wanted somebody's wife killed. No, maybe it's some political person, maybe some other person, who later explained he didn't know exactly yet whom. Wow, he said, that's going to cost. About a week later, Merchant was recording a meeting with agents at a Manhattan rooftop restaurant and then in a nearby car, handing them 5,000 rolled up rubber banded $100 bills. Trump points out alleged Iranian plots. Merchant was arrested in Texas on July 12, 2024, as he was packing to fly back to Pakistan. The day after Merchant's arrest, a Pennsylvania man made an attempt on Trump's life at a campaign event in Butler, Pennsylvania. Oh. This is odd because the guy in Butler had strange ties, like was in meeting places with FBI agents. Did the FBI agents hire the kid to kill Trump? The president alluded to this alleged plot Sunday as he discussed Khamenei's death. I got him before he got me. Was that kid in Pennsylvania working for the FBI? Or the deep state or somebody? This says Trump says Iran's missile launchers are being decimated. Probably. Joe is drunk. Are you talking about you, Joe, or the other Joe? I don't know which Joe you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about, Willis. I'm waiting for this to end so I can put this on. I think this might actually be a video that's going to discuss stuff. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, unmute.
The United States and its partners have launched Operation Epic Fury, one of the largest, most complex, most overwhelming military offensives
I think this was yesterday.
the world has ever seen. Nobody's seen anything like it. We have hit hundreds of targets in Iran, including Revolutionary Guard facilities, Iranian air defense systems. Just now it was announced that we knocked out 9 ships plus their naval building, all in a matter of literally minutes. Iran's formerly supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead. This wretched and vile man had the blood of hundreds and even thousands of Americans on his hands and was responsible for the slaughter of countless thousands of innocent people all across many countries. Last night, all over Iran, the voices of the Iranian people could be heard cheering and celebrating in the streets when his death was announced. The entire military command is gone as well, and many of them want to surrender into saving their lives. They want immunity. They're calling by the thousands. Combat operations continue at this time in full force, and they will continue until all of our objectives are achieved. We have very strong objectives. They could have done something 2 weeks ago, but they just couldn't get there. Earlier today, CENTCOM shared the news that 3 U.S. military service members have been killed in action. As one nation, we grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation, even as we continue the righteous mission for which they gave their lives. We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will likely be more. Before it ends, that's the way it is. Likely be more, but we'll do everything possible where that won't be the case. But America will avenge their deaths and deliver the most punishing blow to the terrorists who have waged war against basically civilization. They have waged war against civilization itself. Our resolve, and likewise that of Israel, has never been stronger. America is now, again, the richest, most powerful nation in the world by far. But the only reason we enjoy the quality of life that we do and the freedom and security is we have done things that others are unable to do. But it's because of warriors who are willing to lay down their lives to do battle with our enemies. And they do battle better than anybody. An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles and nuclear weapons would be a dire threat to every American. We cannot allow a nation that raises terrorist armies to possess such weapons that would allow them to extort the world to their evil will. Not going to let it happen. We're not happening to us, and we're not going to let it happen to others. The United States has the strongest military the world has ever seen. I rebuilt our military in my first term. There's never been a military like we possess. And frankly, there's nobody even close, but we are now using that military for good. We want to have it for good purpose. We're undertaking this massive operation not merely to ensure security for our own time and place, but for our children and their children, just as our ancestors have done for us many, many years ago. This is the duty and the burden of a free people. These actions are right and they are necessary to ensure that Americans will never have to face a radical, bloodthirsty terrorist regime armed with nuclear weapons and lots of threats. For almost 50 years, these wicked extremists have been attacking the United States while chanting the slogan, "Death to America," or "Death to Israel," or both. They are the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. We are the world's greatest and most powerful nation, so we can do something about what they do. These intolerable threats will not continue any longer. I once again urge the Revolutionary Guard, the Iranian military, police, to lay down your arms and receive full immunity or face certain death. It will be certain death. Won't be pretty. I call upon all Iranian patriots who yearn for freedom to seize this moment, to be brave, be bold, be heroic, and take back your country. America is with you. I made a promise to you, and I fulfilled that promise. The rest will be up to you, but we'll be there to help. Thank you. God bless you to our incredible warriors, and God bless the United States of America.
Wow. That was a great speech, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Death to America. Now you're dead. So I want to thank everybody who was here tonight. It's been a great show. I went the extra 15 minutes that I owed you guys from last night. So I wanted to make sure I made that up. We went 3 hours and 15 minutes. We did get 1 extra hour in and an extra 15 minutes. So I want to thank everybody. There will be a show tomorrow night, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock tomorrow night. I hope you guys come back and check it out. I'm going to see you all. Thank you again. Please remember to like and subscribe. I'm going to, if you're on YouTube, I'm going to send you over to this guy. The only stream that's going right now that I know is this guy, Pat Dixon, who does like comedy. I might pop on if he sends me the link. We'll see. But I'm going to thank you all. Have a nice night. Come on back for Jim to tell you the news.